I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless you.
God bless you. What's up, everybody? How are we doing today? Today is the date of June 11th of 2026. This is a very special episode. One moment. Sorry, I gotta get... Whoa, that's loud. Today is a very special episode for I will be reviewing a debate, and it's a members-only stream in the way that members are only allowed to chat. However, you know, I thought it would be a nice thing to let the rest of the world see what's going on. And maybe get a couple memberships with it. Anyways, today we're going to be reviewing a debate with Pisco and Dev versus Admiral Gibbs and what's his name again? Stream Riffs. There we go. Stream Riffs, yes. That's his name. I think, anyways. I'm actually not quite sure. But, anyways, I thought it was a good debate. It was full of a lot of laugh out loud moments. Mainly from this man right here, the guy whose name I couldn't remember. And it's a very interesting topic, actually. It's Trump's corruption. And I actually was watching, Pisco addressed it, or was it like going over this debate last night, I think? And he even said, like, it was just, you know, look at the caliber that's left to defend Donald Trump. I mean, it's kind of sad when you take a look at it. Where his support started versus where it is now, absolutely ridiculous. But guys, if you want to engage with this chat, I would recommend buying a membership. They are only $5, I believe, for a Elite Gamer badge, which is always, you know, appreciated. But if not, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the review. We are live. There we go. Because I think this is a clinic put on by Pisco and Dev. It truly is like a clinic. Kind of sad. Anyways, so we'll just jump right into it. Philly D here. Let's just jump into it. All right, we're going to go to openings. And we'll start there. So Dev isn't in here yet, but even if it was just Pisco versus these two, I think it's pretty obvious that these two together might not form a brain cell. They might not. I'm actually kind of afraid. They might not form a brain cell, but let's see.
Hope it's not too long-winded, but thank you guys all for coming. In general, I think that it's notable that people like Ryan Mullally and Rob Noor and Average Debate Enjoyer didn't show up to this, you know, cause that they spend so much time talking about, which is this comparison on corruption. So I just want to say that's notable, but it's not surprising.
Yeah, so a little bit of behind the scenes for this. Wick had hit up a bunch of people to debate this, you know, Trump's corruption just versus the Democrats' corruption. And none of them wanted to attend, and I think that is very telling.
Surprising, because this issue is like not a difficult one. I take corruption to be the use of entrusted authority or power for unlawful or improper motivations, and on this, it's like just a staggering amount of evidence that the corruption of the Trump administration is way galaxies bigger than anything even alleged of Democrats. We'll start with some choice quotes. Ann Coulter says she thinks it's the most, quote, corrupt presidency in U.S. history. Andrew McCarthy from the National Review says the difference between the Biden family business and the Trump family business in terms of the allegations, you'd have to add 2 digits to the sum of Biden abusive powers, foreign entanglements, and corruption alleged in the House Republican report to get near to what Trump has raked in just from the United Arab Emirates. Ben Shapiro has said that Trump is agreed was radically corrupt. Tucker Carlson has said similar things. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Megyn Kelly, Nick Fuentes, even among the class of Republican commentators, it's widely known that Trump is insanely corrupt. And I started making a list. I spent like 20, 30 minutes just jotting things down, and I had to stop because it was just like too much that we're not gonna have time to go over. But I put some big buckets, and I just want to go through at least some of those big buckets. The first is on political prosecutions or attempted political prosecutions. You have Comey twice, one for the alleged lie, bullshit lie to Congress, one for 8647. You have Letitia James, Adam Schiff, attempted political prosecution, the quote-unquote seditious six, Mark Kelly, Alyssa Slotkin, Jason Crow, Chris Deluzio, Maggie Goodlander, Representative Chrissy Howland. Trump directed the DOJ and Pam Bondi to go after Obama.
Yeah, there's just so much that it's hard to catalog all of it. It really is. This is the most corrupt presidency we will ever see. I promise you that. I don't think there will be anyone as corrupt as this presidency right now. But this is the thing. They don't see it. Like, these guys will not see it as corruption. The two dinguses here, they won't see it as corruption. They'll just see it as, you know, a smart business deal. But for people like us that have a brain that can understand what corruption is, this administration is beyond corrupt. There's not even words sometimes, I feel, to describe just how corrupt this administration truthfully is.
Obama, he's set to investigate it for treason, the prosecution or the attempted prosecution of the sitting Federal Reserve Chair Powell, and also Lisa Cook as well for the mortgage fraud stuff. In terms of interference with the Department of Justice, another bucket, he ordered the Department of Justice to end all Jan 6 terrorists with prejudice. All those charges were dropped with prejudice. This was before he pardoned them all. The Mayor Adams case, where this was in a quid pro quo for immigration help. The DOJ slush fund, the quote-unquote anti-weaponization.
Yeah, Eric Adams, that is a super corrupt dealing right there. But you'll notice these guys, the rightoids here, they don't engage at all. What you'll notice here is very telling. They will not engage with Pisco's arguments. Instead, they're gonna do this, and you'll see this. They're gonna do this bad faith, fucking soy out levels of debate tactics.
Fund. We're talking about $1 billion plus, where he's on both sides of the V, suing his own government that he controls. The Department of Justice and the IRS did a tax liability waiver in addition to the anti-weaponization fund. They dropped the DOJ investigation to Tom Homan, dropped multiple investigations, including the DOJ investigation into Elon Musk. They prevented federal cooperation investigation into the murder of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. They released Alexander Smirnov, the Russian asset who falsely accused Biden of corruption. In terms of the Bureau of Prisons, additionally, they downgraded the severity of confinement conditions for Ghislaine Maxwell. They shut down the entire crypto investigation enforcement team of the Department of Justice. They fired all manner of inspector generals whose job it is to report corruption. Again, that's just the stuff that I'm spitballing. There's more. Corrupt pardons, the Jan 6 pardons of seditious conspiracy, Oath Keepers, the case of Joseph Swartz, where you have millions of dollars being paid to lobbyists with connections to Trump and to members that are close to in order to get a pardon. Those are fraud related to nursing homes. So he was indicted under Biden. Similar pardon of Paul Walkaz, stealing millions from nursing.
My apologies. Whoa, that's weird. I can't. I don't see my here. One sec. I think it's because I put my live chat up before I turned it to members only. Huh. Let me see. Let me turn on my live chat. What? Well, hey, what's up, High Inquisitor? How are you doing? Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, that's so weird. I can't see my live chat. That is so strange. Oh well. I'll just switch over.
And healthcare aides, very similar lobbying scheme. So it's an open door in terms of bribery for pardons. To say nothing of the pardon of the Binance CEO, who also has ties to United Arab.
Yeah, this is something that I rarely see talked about anymore. And it's probably one of his most blatantly corrupt acts is the pardoning of this this Binance founder. So corrupt. But again, they just don't see it that way. And I have no idea why, to be quite frank.
Arab Emirates and helped on this World Financial Liberty coin and the stable coin and everything that was happening with the crypto stuff. The pressure campaign against the state of Oregon to get Tina Peters pardoned. On the Epstein files, he called the files an Obama hoax. He used official power.
Know what I can do, guys? I can open it up on my YouTube app. Here we go. I'm a genius. Don't worry, guys. I'll be seeing your messages. Don't you worry. All right, and then we just go here. One moment, gamers. Sorry. There we go. Jesus, I didn't know I was putting 3 ads on you guys. Holy shit. 3 ads? What's going on here?
Power to try to cover him up. He uses administration to hail in dissenting Republicans into the Situation Room to coerce their votes in the Epstein Transparency Act. On agency actions, immigration actions filled with corruption, viewpoint discrimination against students, schools, attack on law firms. The USDA did a rule reversal from the Department of Agriculture at the request of Pilgrim's Pride, one of the biggest donors to the Trump inauguration. They have the ICE contracts with conflicts of interest for Kristi Noem, Stephen Miller. Trump took a $50 million stake, the Defense Department, into Vulcan Elements Company. This was a mineral company that Don Jr. had ownership interest into and loaned it $620 million. The valuation jumped to $2 billion.
Here we go. Now I'm seeing your messages. Sorry, guys. What's up, Sumdum? Good to see you. It's okay. My parents pay for YouTube Premium. Hey, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Here, I'll just put the chat right here. Right. That's perfect. That is perfect. All right, there we go, guys.
Junior's investment. He ordered U.S. Coast Guard bases, facilities to sell his own brand wine and cider. He blocked this bridge in Detroit where Howard Lutnick has an interest in the other bridge. He's raking in billions on the UAE crypto scheme, to say nothing of the Trump meme coins, which is a rug pull of his own people, where entities that are funding the meme coin include North Korea, Iran, and Russia, aligned people fundraising to promote private national security briefings, the Qatar airplane bribe, government contracts, the ballroom donors, and more and more. The FIFA shit, it is not ending. And like, it's crazy to think that there's anything among the Democrats that even is close in comparison in terms of the amount.
Well, the Democrats, Hunter Biden, yeah, exactly. Exactly. I know. At a loss for words. At a loss for words, ladies and gentlemen.
And the sort of nature of the corrupt offenses.
Okay, well, thank you for that. You weren't getting long-winded, but we'll get to it. Dev's internet's having problems. Hopefully he can fix it and we can get here soon. But the show must go on. We're going to give it to Stream Riff, please.
Well, of course, always appreciate an opportunity to discuss topics like this with Pisco. Appreciate Gibbs for showing up too, and Dev when he gets here. The prompt here is the Trump admin more corrupt than Democrats? And that's an insane and indefinite. Obviously, Trump is one man, or even as one admin, cannot compete with the entirety of the DNC. Now
listen to that. Listen to that. Oh, well, one man. I mean, this is just an excuse. This is just dismissive of honestly the entire debate prompt. But let's listen to this soy loser try to justify why he's going to be a coward. I'll be honest, I am not a fan of this Stream Riffs individual. I think he is a giant loser. I'm just going to be honest, guys. I think he's a giant loser.
Bunch of prep here, but I'm going to actually go over some of the things that I heard while Pisco was laying out his case. First, he had to start off by crying about Ryan and Rob not wanting to be here, and that was an interesting opening move, but fine. If we're going to do that, we'll do that. But one of the things that stuck out, he said, then even alleged. They say, oh, this is worse than what was even alleged. Bill Clinton's alleged to have gone to Pedo Island in the Epstein files 33 times. Now, we can say that's just an allegation, but your standard was even alleged. If we go to that far, most.
Whoa, okay, but alleged, but Pisco brought actual like evidence and all that. Anyways.
People are going to say both sides eat babies and want to destroy the future for our children to disagree on the methods and how we'll get there. So I went ahead, I put together a document. I'll make this available to everyone. There's no shortage of corruption of, for example, we'll go specifically to the DNC. We're not even going to say all Democrats. In fact, I'm going to go as far as to say most rank and file Democrats probably themselves are not corrupt. So I wouldn't go doing that. However, the DNC has managed to do something really impressive. Allegedly, it represents the interests of Democrat voters. Democrats unite, they raise money, they do their digital ground game. They get all excited and they say, fuck MAGA, fuck conservatives, vote blue no matter who, things like that. I'll give you 3 issues: voter ID, men and women's sports, and deporting criminal aliens. I bring these up.
Oh my God, listen to this. So his definition of corruption, and it is very proprietary just to this conversation. I don't think anybody would use this definition of corruption. Nobody uses his definition of corruption as an actual definition of corruption. But his definition of corruption is when they are not doing the will of the people, I guess. That's kind of his contention. And obviously that's not the definition of corruption. I think we can all agree that corruption is much more along the lines of breaking the law to achieve your monetary or political means. That's what I think of when I think of corruption. Yeah, of course I'll be doing the afternoon chat rooms, Kayla.
And you say, perhaps, oh, these are conservative talking points.
He pardoned him because Binance had one of the largest corporate pools of Bitcoin. Yeah, and that is much more along the lines of what I would define as corruption, personally. Breaking the law to achieve your political or monetary means. Or even breaking norms. It could be breaking a norm to achieve your political or financial means. I'd never buy it because ad blockers exist. Oh yeah, for sure. I was disappointed with how Waltz dealt with ICE. Yeah, so apparently Tim Waltz is corrupt now, guys. By Streamriff's definition, Tim Waltz is corrupt. But only by his definition, by the way. Anybody else's definition of corruption? Obviously a different interpretation, but Streamriffs, he'd say that's corrupt. So I guess when Trump started a war, he was corrupt, right? Because he subverted the will of the people.
Why are we dealing with it? Well, the answer's simple. Voters, Democrat voters, unambiguously vote and poll. We know they want these things, but the DNC doesn't like that. And so when we have an entire establishment that's able to get itself elected against the will of even the people that claim to support it, I'm far more concerned with that level of corruption of the entire fucking machinery of the United States government than I'm about one man who I think you're not being fair to. But even if I grant every argument you made,
oh my
it doesn't touch
God.
The fact that the DNC has hijacked American interests for decades.
Never get through it.
So no, I don't think Trump's more corrupt.
We'll get into it, I'm sure. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you. Dev, can you hear us? Are you here?
Yes, I'm here. And I was listening to the opening on my phone while fixing things. No, it turned out the when I was moving all the boxes and stuff, that like the cable in the router got unplugged and I had to restart it. But I'm here.
Welcome.
And I've listened to Pisco's huge opening, and he covered pretty much everything that I wanted to cover in it, so there's no point in going over it again. I will just add one thing. I focused primarily on financial corruption because I don't really know the law that well. I did a video on it, and I'll point out one final thing that Pisco didn't point out. I did the math in that video, and it turns out that Trump's corruption has brought in more in just raw dollars than the entire net worth of the Bidens, the Pelosi's, the Obamas, and the Clintons by about 10 times. So even if you believe that all four of those families, every single dollar they've ever earned has been corruptly earned, which is ridiculous. Even if you believe that, Trump still has them beat in raw dollar value.
What's the rough dollar amount you have? Yeah, real quick, just okay.
Oh, it's between $3 and $4 billion for Trump's corruption.
Okay. Well, we'll get into it. Thank you for being here, Dev. We'll get into it as we go. Sorry. Gibbs, please.
Yeah, I won't be as long as them. I think it's rich that these people, these fine individuals over here, are going to compare Trump's alleged corruption to what it amounts to basically Tammany Hall at the national level. I mean, basically what Pisco laid out is equivalent to a bunch of bloviating by a bunch of fish on the weekend. It doesn't matter. It's not really that important. It's all alleged. If we want to go down the alleged route where everything alleged is true, I don't think that's a game they really want to play based on all the things the Dems are accused of. But I did a little math. Pisco is right about one thing. Just based off from 2024 to 2025, the Trump administration has recovered double the amount in fraud than the Biden administration. They covered about $3.1 billion. The estimates I'm seeing are saying in 2025 they recovered 6.1, and they're on pace to hit similar numbers this year. And they've upped the ramping of the convictions and indictments, which I have the numbers of those as well. It's a substantial amount. So whenever they inevitably say that, Biden was the one who started looking for the fraud here, this is actually a continuation of his first term. We see a lot of this going forward. Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of substance to any of this, and most of this is not affecting me as a taxpayer. I believe most of our politicians are corrupt. I believe they probably all eat babies, as Steve said. I'm just not buying that Trump's more corrupt than them. I see him more akin to the forest fire that burns down the forest and all the brush so that the new forest can rise up and help everybody out equally. And that's kind of where I see it at right now. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for being here, guys.
Of course. With that, the floor is open to discussions. If I tell you to shut up, please shut up. It's because you're talking over each other, and I might have questions as we go. But with that, go ahead.
So it is funny that you said like it's like Tammany Hall. Tammany Hall is like a corrupt Democratic machine that existed in New York, and so I think that's a concession that it's corruption from the Trump administration. If you say it's like Tammany Hall.
I'd say the Dems. Right? If I wasn't clear, the Dems, the Democratic Party right now, is Tammany Hall at a national level.
And based on what? What is the evidence of Democratic corruption that you've introduced?
I mean, we can look at the fraud, the healthcare fraud. We double the amount. We're seeing all the fraud.
You mean the healthcare fraud that you acknowledge that the Biden administration was going after in your opening statement?
I did not acknowledge. Once again, I said I knew for the inevitable comment that was going to come, that we can look at.
Do you disagree with that factual circumstance? The Democrats went after that corruption?
I absolutely do. I mean, I don't disagree.
In virtue of what do you disagree with the Democrats? Okay, so here's the evidence. Here's the evidence that I have.
We're already talking over each other. Okay, so just real quick, Gibbs, why don't you believe this? And then once you say that, we can give it to Pisco and Dev.
Hey, you're okay. I can actually see your comments, Kayla. Somehow. I can actually see your comments, so that's interesting.
Right.
Hell yeah.
It's so simple. Well, I said I trust the numbers. I looked at them, and I said at the beginning, like, okay, this was going to be their claim. And the Dems looked into this. Well, sure, they looked into it, but it's really they got low-hanging fruit, so that way they can point and say, hey, we got them. And then when I look over here, we're seeing, 455 defendants have been charged this year alone with over 6.5 billion alleged fraud just on Medicaid. We're looking at 295 defendants. That's about 518 million in broad state participation acts right here. That's national healthcare fraud. That's under Trump. That was 2026, 2025. We're looking at over 324 defendants charged, over 14.6 billion in alleged. This dwarfs what the Dems did under these.
Yes. So even if it were true, I don't believe your numbers. These are all AI generated. I think you're reading from the AI script. But even if I believed your numbers there, right? Like, so
Just saying, I'm usually against the death penalty, but I bet you would see a decline if we did the death. Well, I mean, in a lot of cases,
you gotta let Pisco respond.
Even if I believe,
I would say
even if
this
I
is
believe,
treason. I would say Trump's corruption is treason in a lot of cases, and so you might have a case. But anyways, the Democrats are violent. They're advocating for death. I guarantee that's the meme I'm about to hear.
your the number comparison there, that Trump was just better at getting fraud, which is an obscene thing to say after you can see him moving DOJ resources off fraud to go to immigration. They're completely shutting down the crypto fraud and antitrust divisions of the DOJ and their inspector generals. So your accounts here are completely absurd and obscene and insulting. But even if, what I will say is, even if I believed it, to say that the Democrats were like worse at enforcing fraud, which again I don't believe, wouldn't itself be corruption, correct? Yes or no?
Well, hold on. If we're moving off the immigration, and immigration is fraud, it's a type of fraud, and there's millions of illegals.
Did you hear what I just asked, Gibbs?
Yeah, I did. And
what was my question? The question is, you're pointing to like more fraud under Trump. Again, I'm telling you, I don't believe your numbers and your calculations. But even if I did,
I'm just running them over.
But even if,
Pisco.
I mean, yeah, I have the numbers.
Did you hear the question? I want an answer to the question. The question is, why would that amount to corruption by Democrats if they were less good at rooting out fraud done by private persons?
If you see the well, that's real simple. Where do you see these fraudulent actions being taking place? In what states?
Across the country.
Right, in major blue cities.
Answer the question. Why would it be the case?
I answer the question. Hold on, you can interrupt me every time I answer. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop answering. It's in major blue cities. It's in California. It's in Oregon. It's in Minnesota. We're seeing this time and time again. And then when we see it in places like Texas, guess who it's being done by?
So an administration. But that's not the question you're being asked, right? So an administration.
You gotta hold on, Gibbs. You gotta let
an administration led by Democrats. You concede open investigations into fraud in Minnesota, correct? Yes.
Yeah, they did a very good job.
Yeah, so the question is, if they were doing the policy of willful blindness, what you're suggesting here is the fact that it's happening. Let me finish what I'm saying. So if it were the case that what is happening is they're overlooking and they're being willfully blind, you wouldn't expect to see, would you, them initiating corruption investigations and bringing charges?
Yeah, you would. That's the whole point of having a fall guy. If they go after a couple of ones. So let's say I've got this great idea. I know we've got these wonderful fine daycares in pick a city, or we'll just imagine. And we've got all this money coming. We say, look, we got to at least pretend. Let's get a few of them. And then, of course, some are going to get away with it.
Yeah, but of course you're wrong. Of course you're wrong that, in terms of the nature of the cases that were brought against corruption. So first of all, which cases are you saying are the fall guys? You don't have any idea what you're talking about. So which are the types of cases that you say that you're characterizing right now in front of hundreds of people as fall guys? What kinds of cases are those?
When you get done,
you don't know the first thing about these cases, do you?
So what I'd like to do is talk about the Democrats, the DNC in particular, are way more corrupt. So how do we get from what you're talking about?
So we're just moving off of this point. So you just made an allegation. Okay,
off of the fucking ticket.
So you want to move off of it because you have no evidence for your claim that the Democrats are selectively. You're fatigued. In other words, of saying that you don't want to talk anymore about this claim that you made. You made a separate claim. It's a growing. Wait. So you made it's a growing and evolving story, and your growing and evolving story is what explains the fact that according to whatever AI summary that he's reading to, the actual.
How about the audio logs from the AG? I mean,
what explains? So the evolving.
That's not AI, buddy.
So the evolving.
Gibbs, housekeeping thing. Your gain. I don't know what's wrong with
it. So the evolving story is as follows. This is the evolving story. When it was brought to your attention that
you're way too quiet, dude. You're way too quiet.
Okay, how about now? We better now.
So the evolving story is as follows. The evolving story is as follows. Yes. Let me finish. Is when it was brought to your attention that these fraud prosecutions, many of the core ones, started under Biden. Your response was, well, these are patsies, these are fall guys, and you don't have any evidence for that claim, and that's why you want to move off of it, correct?
No, I don't want to move off it. I have evidence for that. Keith Ellison even says not to go after certain people. We have this on file with the Minnesota.
What did Keith Ellison say?
Why don't you look it up? If you're not
you're the one bringing up.
Hold on. First time you use AI. Now I'm providing an audio log. You can look up.
You haven't provided jack shit. What is the quote from Keith Ellison?
You made a bunch of claims. Once again, Keith Ellison says they want to not insert themselves in the political arena on certain issues regarding the Somalis. This is like I'm basically summarizing this like a 3-minute conversation. We have audio on, but
we don't have a choice vote. So you're saying Keith Ellison says we need to not go after fraud?
I'm not going to read 3 minutes of paragraph. Like, I'm not.
What is the essence of what he's saying? What are you saying?
The essence is you're saying why would they do this? Well, we know they have a machine that's entrenched. We know this is something to do. We're going after that machine. We're seeing how these Democratic-funded government, these senators in Minnesota, put money back into the Democratic campaigns. They see this over and over.
You were asked what Keith Ellison said. You were asked what Keith Ellison said.
You didn't answer any of my questions, so I'm going to keep going. And so when I sit
what was the question I didn't answer?
And when I look at the healthcare in California, I look at the healthcare in Minnesota, and I see the fraud going forth, and I see more people being indicted under Trump in 2 years than were the entire time in the Biden administration. They recovered double. It's pretty clear to me that when we can trace this back to the Democratic Party and the funding of it,
you've failed. You've failed to do that.
You failed logic class.
Hold on, Gibbs. You got to let him respond to that.
I do want to let that go, but the last thing I'll say on this is you were asked what Keith Ellison said that substantiated your proposition. It is your factual claim that the reason that we are seeing prosecutions be initiated and investigations initiated under the Democratic leadership at the Department of Justice, I'll let you know, Keith Ellison is not a DOJ official, so what he says doesn't bear on what the Department of Justice did. But again, that's how laughable. The Attorney General of the state of Minnesota, correct?
Yeah, that would be the
Okay,
Attorney
so
General.
he has. So I was correct. So why are you? So I was correct. He has no.
What is the Attorney
The Attorney General of the state of Minnesota, and I'm talking about the Department of Justice under Joe Biden. And under Joe Biden, there were federal investigations. And your response to that was, as you co-signed, that this is to make fall guys. It's actually just to make fall guys. That was your claim. And to support that claim, you said, well, look at what Keith Ellison said. And I'm asking what Keith Ellison said, and you're not responding to that.
Right. Listen, what I'm saying is, once again, we have evidence. I'll just read the quotes. I think that's the easiest way. I'll read two of them. Yeah, there's the two quotes from Keith Ellison. So the goal of protect what we have and insert ourselves in the political arena by putting votes where it needs to be. But most importantly, putting our dollars in the right place and supporting candidates who will fight to one of our interests. One of the Somali community says in the recording. And then that's right. Ellison responds. So he's agreed. Then we later find out that someone's.
I'm sorry, did anyone understand how? Yeah, did anyone understand that?
Okay, once again, I mean, listen, mate, open your ears, Papa. You talk fast, I talk fast. Get some notes. There's an AI program you're talking about. It takes notes for you. I took a meeting in good faith with people I didn't know, and some turned out to have done bad things. Oh, wow, it's crazy.
So your standard.
What? That is not evidence at all. That is not evidence at all. Yeah, a Republican acting like he cares about healthcare. I know. But no, that's
So
not.
just to be clear,
That's not even to the
your
level
standard of
of
corruption.
corruption.
So this is to be clear on your standard of corruption is that Keith. So your standard of corruption, because you're going to get eviscerated by this the minute we start talking about Trump. Your standard for corruption is Keith.
And you'll notice something in this debate is that they know that once they start talking about Trump, it's over. You know, so what they're going to try to do in this entire debate is just try to talk about Democrats. They're not going to try and talk about Trump. It's going to be this ever-shifting goalpost, and you'll see this.
Ellison took a meeting with a guy who was bad and did fraud.
And then he agreed with the fraudster.
Oh, really? That's not what that quote said. That quote said, "I agree with the fraud."
Well, we read the quote. We can move on.
You read the quote. It didn't say what you said.
Hold on. I do want to give it to Dev a little bit. He's been trying to get in here. Dev, you're muted on your end.
Yes. Okay. So, Gibbs, just real quick, you're talking about this here, right? Is what you're reading off of?
That's one of them.
Yeah. The National Healthcare Fraud Takedown results in 455 defendants charged in connection with over 6.5 billion in alleged fraud. Okay. I decided, while you guys were talking, I decided to skim through this. I wanted to see what was going on. Cases in 56 federal districts, 45 U.S. states and territories, 50 state Medicaid fraud control units participating, the most in department history. Let's see, what do we got here? There's one defendant from Karenia, who got that $3.7 billion scheme. Two defendants from Estonia, 10.6 billion in the Philippines. Okay. I read through the whole thing. Where are the Democrats implicated in this at all? Well, there's a whole bunch of fraudsters, but nothing related to the Democrats.
Yeah, where are the Democrats?
You're going at the wrong angle. The whole fucking premise of that was the Democrats were turning a blind eye to it, not that they were explicitly.
Where's the evidence for that?
Where's the evidence? Their only evidence is a quote from Keith Ellison where he doesn't even say what they're trying to imply. That's the only evidence they have. It's actually very sad. That's it. That's all they could get.
Yeah, but what's the evidence for that claim?
We have evidence. Ellison, for example, speaking of Ellison, once again,
that was an embarrassing attempt at your point to say that the Democrats were giving
Ellison did receive for donations from several of the convicted fraudsters, including the Center for the American Experiment.
Well, so we actually took money from them. Just wait. Just real quick, Gibbs.
Nothing.
Gibbs, you do know that it says in here that at least some of these investigations began in 2024, right?
At least some. I mean, what does that mean? I mean, I'm sure there's all sorts of.
Well, that means that they began under Biden, though. Right?
I also said, if you recall my opening, that many of the cases, well, some of the cases were even opened as far as back as 2016. So the Trump administration was prosecuting some of these cases all the way through the Biden administration.
Hold on, who was president in 2016?
2015, whatever, Trump's first term, whatever you use. Like, all the way back.
2017. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, 2016 was Obama. But no, here's the thing, right?
Yeah, so it's clear that, like, all the way under 2016, 2017.
These investigations take years to investigate, just so you're aware, right? And so the point is, once again, you have Trump taking credit as though Democrats were taking a blind eye towards fraud under Biden's watch. And meanwhile, you have Trump shutting down white-collar crime investigatory units, crypto fraud investigatory units. He is pardoning, and you have the gall to sit here and talk about how horrible Medicare and medical-related fraud is. He pardoned at least 2 individuals, and probably more, that let me finish. Let me finish.
Stop talking at some
He
point.
pardoned 2 individuals who paid $1 million+ in lobbying fees to get access to Laura Loomer and others to get a pardon from this administration and not have to pay back millions of dollars back to the people they defrauded in their nursing home scam. And you want to sit here and say, well, that shows the Democrats are corrupt. You're Looney Tunes, bro.
Wait, so it's immigration fraud?
That's a different subject. Immigration fraud is
You're Looney Tunes, bro.
It is a type of fraud by private persons and doesn't implicate Democrats unless you can prove it.
Go ahead, Dev. Go ahead, Dev.
Yeah, so just real quick, Gibbs, because this, like, I don't believe you're reading off of ChatGPT because some of the things you were saying are in what I just pulled up. These are real cases, and I assume the numbers are going to be they're solid. It's just that I don't see the connection to the Democrats. Like, this is real fraud. I don't think you can say that you can pin this on Democrats. I don't see the connection there.
Do you agree? Let's just maybe take a more narrow set first, and then we can expand it. Do you agree that there has been some fraud in Minnesota specifically?
Yes, we grant that. And Democrats and leadership in the Department of Justice under President Biden went after it. And you have no evidence that they had a willful. You have no evidence. Do you? The question is, do you have any evidence that they took a willful blind eye towards that fraud?
Yeah, I mean, I just
what's the evidence of that?
One example. We just used Keith Ellis as an example.
Wait,
You don't have any counter to that. I mean,
so your evidence. This is the standard of evidence, and we're gonna. And you have a consistent standard of evidence, don't you? Wait, I just want to make sure this is your standard.
You guys both of you just like love talking over each other. You need to stop. Okay,
so
let one of each other.
I want to have a
finish.
consistent standard of evidence.
We're gonna give it to Pisco.
So Pisco go. Because when we start talking about Trump, I don't want this to go into like, well, can you 1,000 trillion% prove this beyond any measure of doubt for some of these claims where they have not been investigations? Your standard for showing that Democrats had a blind eye towards fraud, in other words, were wanting it to happen, or at least were okay with it occurring, is the statement that you presented about Keith Ellison, where he's like in a room with one of these people saying something about voters and or something.
You're spending like 10 minutes on something.
No, can you just answer if that's your standard for corruption?
This is a classic. This is a great Pisco maneuver. Spend 3 hours.
It's not a maneuver. It's asking what your standard of proof is. What is your standard of evidence?
I've got like a dozen nice court arguments we could be looking at. Instead, we're masturbating over one very narrow example,
Hold on,
and you won't accept a reasonable presumption.
Instead, we're masturbating over one very narrow example. Well, it's an example you brought up. You and Gibbs both brought that up. So, of course we're going to talk about it, bro. Of course we are. What is this, I mean, it's pussy bullshit, honestly, bro. It's pussy bullshit. Why don't you want to talk about it? Could it be because if you use this as an example of corruption, you know you're going that you're fucked if you support Donald Trump? You know it. You know it. That's the thing. They know. They know.
Opposition.
Yep. Once Gibbs responds, okay, then we're going to move on, and you can give your next piece of argument.
I would say my standard is higher than Pisco's standard, because my standard right here is that I actually have evidence of people like Keith Ellis, so we can talk about things. Tim Walz saying he's not going to run after all this fraud is come out. We can look at other examples where we see the examples of California where they were seeing it funded back in the Democratic Party. We see all these examples.
That's corruption. Wait.
Hold on. My standard isn't alleged. His standard, if you remember, was anything alleged should be brought in.
Your example of corruption. Tim Walz stepping down?
I just let you finish. Well, okay, cool, because by your metric, all I have to do is I'm alleging that Tim Walz is stepping down because of
what is corruption? We have to start there. What do you think corruption is?
So once again, I just want to say my standard right here is at least have some.
You just said Tim Walz stepping down from the race is corruption.
You already admitted that some of these people that were committing fraud were funding money back in the Democratic Party. That is evidence of the system that I am talking about.
You just said that Tim Walz stepping down from the race was democratic corruption. What is corruption? Tell me in your words what corruption is.
Yeah, but it's corruption because he's stepping down.
I'm asking what corruption is. What do you take corruption to be?
See, corruption is anything that their definition of corruption, again, very tailored to this one specific like it's proprietary as hell. And what that means is it's purposely, their definition of corruption is purposely tailored just for this debate. Nobody would define corruption as a politician not fulfilling their campaign promises. I don't think anybody would consider that like corruption, right? But again, their definition is very proprietary. They knew before this debate began that they were in a losing position. So the only way that they can actually even hope to try and win this debate, to try and, win the hearts and mind, is if they have this extremely proprietary definition of corruption. Because if not, then their entire claim is kind of sunk in the water.
I don't know, by defrauding the government to fund campaigns.
So your definition of corruption is fraud?
Brock working overtime in this debate? Oh,
definitely. Definition of corruption. What is your definition of corruption? That might be helpful. Go ahead.
A political class using the machinery of the party and the state to entrench itself against the demonstrated will of its own base. It's when one group of political...
See, listen to that. That is not corruption. He's essentially saying that if a... So what this definition would actually apply a lot more to the Republicans to entrench themselves in power. Look at what they do with gerrymandering. Look at what they do. They did with the Supreme Court, for example. It is all. This is just a super proprietary definition. That I don't even think they would use in any other debate, but because they know they're going to be cooked so hard in this this debate, they have to try and use that definition. I would say that what I would define as corruption, right, is using the levers of power to gain both monetarily and politically. And I don't think you see that with the Democrats. I really don't. But you do see it with with Donald Trump. And something else you'll notice is this absolute pussy of a man, Stream Riffs, does not at all mention monetary gain. Why is that? Why would he be afraid to mention monetary gain? I think we all agree that monetary gain is a big aspect of corruption. And you have to wonder, why is that? Why do they not want to use the just common interpretation of what corruption is?
Class hijacks the government for other people to be over everyone else under the head. The lightest form of it that you could argue for forever on is the Hunter Biden thing, which is a perfect example of it a bunch of different ways.
So let's talk
let's
about
go bigger. Let's
Wait,
go
wait,
bigger.
wait, let's
go
focus on the
bigger.
definition.
I'm gonna make 2 more points or I'm never answer the fucking question you have. Point 1, there's a representation gap, and it's a big one. Democrat voters want voter ID. Democratic voters want men out of women's sports. Democrat voters want criminal aliens deported. And 70%,
Rhetoric.
80% of the time, they're consistent on this, and then what ends up happening? Our democratically elected representatives vote against their express will.
It's not a debate on trans. It's not a debate on illegal immigration. Let's deal with your definition.
Hold on, all of you. We do have to address your definition of corruption. So whether Dev and Pisco agree with that definition.
It's preposterous, right? So I'm happy to I don't really love semantic debates about like what definitions are, but just to take a look at his definition as he provided. It was something about a political class entrenching itself in power above the wishes of like the political the people. That is such an absurd definition of corruption for the following reason. It would mean that someone taking bribes just for their own personal ends. It was something that any sensible person in the United States would say is corruption.
I'm so glad Pisco calls this out too. I am so glad Pisco calls this out. It's adorable when you see conservatives try to argue systematic issues. When they wish to conserve the system, it causes them to go in a wild position. Sorry, I have to read on my phone because something's up with my chat on OBS.
Wouldn't be corruption on that view.
Yeah, no, for real. It's so obvious that even with his own definition, you could make a case that with his definition, Republicans are by far in a way more corrupt, quote unquote, than the Democrats because they've entrenched themselves in power. Like the previous points I made of Mitch McConnell and the gerrymandering and all this. They are far more responsible for those actions. But again, this is just I don't even accept his definition of corruption. So
because that's for a personal end. It's not to entrench oneself in power. So an example of, let's say if it were true that Hunter Biden and Joe Biden took bribes to change policies for their own personal ambition, but not to entrench themselves in powers, on that view, that would not be corruption. Absurd.
So let's make it broader. So that's one definition.
So you're changing your definition, right? Are you changing your definition or not?
No, you've got 2 options.
Are you changing it or not?
One, you can use mine. Mine is a definition of a particular type of corruption. If you want to talk about other.
Oh, it's a definition of a particular type of corruption. Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense. Got you.
Other types of corruption that don't fit under that, it doesn't mean they're not corruption. You say you don't want to do semantic word games, and you're sitting here doing semantic word games.
No, he's doing semantic word games. He's doing this this mealy-mouth bullshit, dude, where he's like, yeah, he's trying to shift his definition of corruption. The issue is that nobody agrees with that man's definition of corruption. I don't think you'd see anybody agree with that is the definition of corruption.
I'm happy to use that one if you want. It's just Trump's going to fail on that in epic ways compared to Democrats. You understand that, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why you want to talk about immigration.
Hold on, we can just agree that while what StreamRiff said is a form of corruption, it is not the only form of corruption.
I agree with that. I'm happy to use. I'm happy to go forth with both, right? To have a broader view and a more narrow view. On the more narrow, if you want to start with the more narrow view of entrenching oneself in power, I mean, look no further than this segment. We don't even need to talk about the first administration. We don't even need to talk about January 6th, and it is off the scales.
Legal aliens were voting in American elections that are not citizens.
Prove that. Prove that.
Dev agrees with this corruption thing. Dev is also here, and what are your thoughts?
I don't think it's a great definition, but for the purposes of this conversation, we can use it. Sure.
Well, I also want to talk about the other notions. So I want to
got to get back to work, but I watched Channel 5 documentary, and it made me think that a lot of people inability to take responsibility seems to cause reactionary thought and far-right radicalization.
We shouldn't limit ourselves to one definition. We should catalog it all.
I agree. I'm fine doing it. I'm fine doing both notions of corruption. So we can. Do you want to start with entrenching power corruption versus non-entrenching power corruption?
Yeah, so I have
let's pick with
here's the
power
deal.
corruption. Go ahead.
Gibbs, let's streamer. Streamer.
Yeah, so I have literally ahead of this. I actually took some time to think through this because I figured I owe you guys the decency of having some structured argument. Also, you're clever, and so if I plan ahead, it gives me a little bit over edge over how much you do internet verbal judo. So I had to cheat that way by becoming prepared. Prepared I came.
Preparing for debate is not. Just want to say because I don't know. Listen, I think it's fine that you prepared. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't know why this norm is like, don't prepare. I know Rob Noor does this a lot. Like, oh, I don't prepare. That's like not good.
How many more times do you have to say Rob Noor? As I was saying,
I'm just saying, like, it's like you don't have to be. You don't have to be like embarrassed about that.
A definition. Thank you. A definition of corruption, I think, is very reasonable. Is to say if the politicians are fucking the people. But more specific, I gave the one that I gave because I think the DNC has literally become a machinery to enable all sorts of things.
Look, he even admits it. He even admits it. I gave that definition because I wanted to win the debate. That's literally what he is saying right there. Basically admitting that he has no reason to believe this definite. We should not take this as a definition of corruption. Just flat out.
That no one administration.
By the way, thank you guys so much for the likes and the subs. You guys are killing it. By the way, we had our biggest stream ever yesterday. We had about 175,000 views. Thank you guys so much. That is huge. I really appreciate it.
No matter how many babies they ate, no matter if the Highlanders they took out, could never be powerful enough to do the amount of damage the DNC has done over the last 4 years.
That notion, I don't. So that notion, we're gonna have a problem with that because if what you take to be corruption is fucking over the people, then that's just a debate about policy. That includes policy, right? That would just be like, oh, it's corrupt.
So here's 3 examples.
Wait. I want to be clear about that, right? If your definition of corruption is when the government fucks over the people, then that's just a broad policy debate about who you prefer.
Jackass,
so that's what you just said.
If I'm talking to a normal human being, what we do is we'll use phrases like that to explain a concept and not bust each other's balls over the different ways that can mean. So that's a very meta thing here. We can do meta. That's fine.
No, it's
I gave
not.
you a detailed one that was organized. Paraphrase it because sometimes it's easier to go along with that, but that's fine.
So I understood if you paraphrase one. I just want to make sure we understand each other. So on your notion of corruption, I understood that to be official action taken for an entrenching purpose, and I agree. An entrenching purpose is one corrupt purpose, and so that's how I understood what you were saying. And that is a notion of corruption that is, in my view, far too narrow, but it is a form of corruption. But if you say it's fucking over the people, that's too broad.
Neat. So there's 2 pieces where the DNC completely fucks over their voting base. Point 1, as I was going over before, there's 3 solid examples I gave you where Congress voted explicitly. The Democrat representatives in Congress voted against the will of their own voters in unambiguous terms. That's not what they were elected to. They're elected as representatives, not leaders. The second is when we look at, that's the legislator. When we look at the executive,
we deal with that first.
In 2016, we had the DNC tip the scales and pump Bernie off. So the Bernie bros are upset about this. They saw corruption on their own party side. The Dems, this is my clincher. We didn't even primary Kamala, and she did so bad in her prior primaries, she dropped out, I think, before we even got to
I love this.
any major
I
states.
love Republicans acting like they are so concerned about how we do our primaries. I love this pearl clutchy bullshit that they always engage in when it comes to like what happened with Kamala, what happened with Bernie. They act like they know. They act like they know what happened. But they don't. And it's actually very obvious that they don't. So yeah. Anyways.
I think after just a couple of states voted, she dropped out. This is not a party that gives a fuck about its voters.
So it's atypical. It could be true that Democrats don't care about their voters and that they're not more corrupt than Trump. It could be true that they don't care about their voters and they're not corrupt at all. Nothing about what you said addresses corruption unless your definition of corruption is just like, are they doing right by their voters? But that's just not the definition of corruption that I think any person, I think your more narrow version of corruption, that at least is some notion of corruption. But this about like the DNC and what happened with the primaries, that's just so afield.
Representation for California. So they have a bunch of illegal immigrants, so they get higher census numbers, so they get more congressional seats, and they literally go against the entire fucking principle laid out by the founding fathers clearly in the Federalist Papers and in our fucking founding documents, where we say we do not want big states, at the time New York, to beat up little states.
So wait, are you taking the position? So let's. I'll deal with the hypothetical because I'm not scared. Your hypothetical is essentially if it were the case. If it were the, well, why don't we just? It feels like you guys are afraid whenever we interrogate one of your points. You want to move off of it. I want to deal with what you just said. Is that okay?
No, you have like 90% audio time problem.
Well, you just said something.
To not actually engage with
okay, if you're conceding that what you said is
okay,
stupid.
I'm gonna have to step in. So the claim that you're making, StreamRift, is that the example you're giving is that a lot of illegal immigrants are being pumped into California to overinflate the numbers and keep Democrats in power when the people would otherwise oust them from power. Is that an accurate representation of your claim? No? Then rephrase it for me, please.
So the part of the reason that the U.S. Census happened is for congressional seat representation. And so if I have 100 million illegal immigrants, the census doesn't dispute this one way or the other. If it's a human in that state, they get Congress seats based off that. So California has, I believe, 2, possibly 3 additional seats they would not have if the census was only counting American citizens. It's not about hating immigrants. It's not about not wanting them here. It's about literally undoing the foundation of a country. 250 years is not a small thing. And a part of that is because we don't let big states beat up little states.
Yes.
So
now
they
have to address. Hold on. Streamer. They have to address the claim that you just made, and I'm going to give it to Dev and then Pisco to do so in that order.
Yeah, just real quick,
And then
because
Gibbs
I've heard this
will be able to
argument.
rebut. Okay.
I've had it several times. I've run the math on this, and I think California gets one more seat that they shouldn't have, but so does Texas. So this is not really a big argument, in my opinion.
Putting that
That's fucking
aside,
stupid. You're
putting
saying
that
if it
aside,
fucks over one state, they should put the other. But I want to go to Dev's number.
No, that's even assuming that's even
I want to
assuming.
invite him in on this
Hang on
one.
a
If that's all right,
second.
Pisco.
Hang on a second. I want to address what you said more
Okay,
broadly
yeah,
about immigration. So would you say that let's say that Congress makes a decision that we want to encourage immigration, and they basically remove most categories of removal or non-status, except for criminal bases? Would you say that that's corrupt because of what your policies on immigration? You're changing the fabric of the country. Yes or no? Would that be corrupt on your view?
So, Dev, you said
Can you
around
answer
$3 or
that, please?
$4 billion of corruption is what you've attributed directly to Trump or admin. If I double it, my number is between 10 and 11 trillion that goes to NGOs that the DNC
my
helps
God.
fund
Okay.
from
$10 trillion
controlling congressional spending.
to NGOs.
So you said there's 2 extra seats. So you end up saying California does have outsized representation, and it's because of, I think we all agree that the DNC has been.
You think a
pushing for
third of our
immigration.
national
So real quick, like I actually do agree that I think it's kind of ridiculous America allows illegal immigrants to be captured on the census, and then that allows certain states to get more seats. I agree with that. But I've seen people say like that means that California has like 20 extra seats, which it doesn't.
But it's not
Yeah,
corruption,
that's
even if you disagree with it. That's not corruption. That's what. So if
It is.
Also, it's not corruption.
hang on a second. So
It's bad, but it's not corruption. It's bad, but it's not
let me address what you just.
It's literally not, though. It's literally not corruption. Like, it's actually just not corruption, folks.
So I asked you a question, which is, if Democrats, with their majorities, got into power and said, we're now encouraging immigration, we want to encourage immigration, we want to lower, basically make it so it's largely open borders, you have to go through a process, but we're going to just keep the criminal basis of removal, but everything else we're going to go get rid of it. Would you say that's corrupt?
Yes.
I'm sorry, you talk. Oh, I'm gonna
Okay, he's asking
You
if the
can't ask a
DNC is
question- you
encouraging
can't answer a
immigration, is that
question,
in and of
dude.
itself corrupt?
Well, it depends
No.
on the kind.
No.
Illegal
I'm gonna say
immigration,
no.
yes.
In terms
Oh,
of
no,
Immigration,
okay. And the reason that's a good answer, because the Declaration of Independence that we just celebrated, the 250th year, one of the first charges by the founding generation is the following quote.
Damn, Pisco does kind of cook with this declaration line here. He really does.
He has endeavored, that is the king, to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws of naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. So what does that say? There is a textually committed basis in the Declaration of Independence that the encouragement of migration and immigration and getting rid of barriers to immigration is consistent with our national credo. And so there's nothing about that that's inherently
And then,
corrupt.
hold on.
Okay,
Pisco.
Gibbs,
This is
respond, please.
Here's the problem with that. One, what that's talking about is legal immigration, right? And even then, at that level, I'll argue once again
Oh,
that
yeah,
there's also
legal
problems when you do stuff like
immigration.
many counties.
You know, they didn't have this definition of illegal and legal immigration back when the Bill of Rights, or not Bill of Rights, my bad. The Declaration of Independence was being signed, or was being drafted. They didn't have this very this very modern definition of immigration.
And I can start listing all the counties if you want me to. This is from Ballotpedia. But we got Oakland, San Francisco, both allow legal non-citizens to vote. I would argue even legal non-citizens voting is corruption. But
Wait, why is it corrupt? Stop right there. Why is it corrupt?
You guys,
why
you gotta
is
stop doing this.
corrupt?
Why is it
They
corrupt?
Why is
want
that
to talk about it.
corrupt?
I'm trying. Hold on. I'm trying.
And then
to talk
what you do?
about
Hold on, stop. Gibbs, what you do, and this
Okay.
is and Pisco needs to stop interrupting too. To be clear.
Yeah, but I can't even make my claim because I have one part of my
You're
claim.
interrupting me. Why are you interrupting me?
Well, because I have a
You
claim that I
make
wanna
a
finish.
statement, and that's something that we want to talk about. But
Sure,
then
I
you
know.
keep going, and you make like
Right.
3 or 4
No,
statements.
well, here's
Let's
the problem.
stick
Here's
on
the problem.
one. Let's stick on one.
I will do that. Here's the problem. Is I wait, and then when I try to lay out a case after we this is a piece over 30
Yes,
minutes
you
lay
need
out
to
a
stop
case.
interrupting me.
Sure. All right, that's fine. I have a point here. I would argue legal immigration is good, right? But legal citizens voting, it goes against Constitution. I would argue that's corruption. Now, there is a important part of this. Hold on. Let me finish. There's a second part of this that's important, and I can't even move on to this until I get the second part out. This is the more important part is when y'all sit here, even if I grant that is not fraud, there's still examples like the Iowa superintendent. I would say low-level person at a low-level position that you are voting in. And the argument that I'm about to make is that whenever we have examples of people
Oh,
that
this
were
shit
illegally-
is insane. So he's saying it's corruption to allow a representative to that came here that was undocumented at one point but now is documented to run for office as a school superintendent. Like, that's insane, bro. Nobody uses that as a definition. Oh god, I didn't realize they were about to activate a whole nother ship. Oh no.
people in the House that one of the ladies was here illegal, to getting government positions at low and mid-level positions. That is actually more dangerous and more indicative of what StreamRiff is talking about, where we have the government going, oh, okay, we're entrenching these people, the Dems are, entrenching them within the government, and it's a system and a machine, as opposed to what Stream has laid out with, oh, it's Donald Trump is one man and a smaller administration. There's a 50-year machine. It's not a filibuster. It's only a filibuster if I'm not making points.
Okay.
I am
Give
making
the other side a chance to respond to this.
so
you were asked the following question.
I do have a response, Gibbs, but it's not quite to what you said, but it's on a previous thing that you mentioned. I do want to respond to something, though, okay? So let's go down a bit of a rabbit hole together, okay? So I'll bring this back up. And we talked about this earlier, and you mentioned Keith Ellison in relation to this, and I couldn't find Keith Ellison in here, but I decided to go and look up. I decided to go and look at what you're talking about, right? So I found this. This was published, and this is the cost of doing nothing: how Tim Walz and Keith Ellison fueled Minnesota's fraud explosion, which is a crazy report that was just released by the Republicans.
That's not what I'm quoting, but that's a good one too, I guess.
But yeah. Well, I wanted to find the source of the claim that you're talking about, and maybe you didn't get it from here, but I went down the rabbit hole. Okay, I went down the rabbit hole live while you guys were talking, so I discovered that the claim is that Governor Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison limited or stopped investigations into the fraud, and that's sourced here from 78. 78 says, see letter from the chairman of House Committee on Oversight. Yep, Comer. So I decided to go find that letter. I found the letter here.
Yeah, and we all know
says the same thing, that evidence is being destroyed, and that it's not. These two people have
very invested in finding corruption, even though he won't start cases into Trump for the Qatari jet, for the drone deals, for all of this. He's much more interested in just trying to do witch hunts for Democrats. And that's just a fact. Like, we all know that James Comer is not going to try and actually do investigations into Trump. I think that is very obvious. If you just look at James Comer's statements, he's an embarrassing member of Congress, in my opinion. And a total
have decided to use their powers to stop this investigation. And I was like, well, where the fuck does that come from? And then the source in this letter is the website AmericanExperiment.org, and the article "Feeding Our Future: Keith Ellison Caught on Tape." So I found that article, and here it is: "Feeding Our Future: Keith Ellison Caught on Tape." And this looks like a right-wing kind of sloppy list.
A quick question for you here, though.
Let him finish.
That's a $250 million of fraud.
Why do you okay?
So I gotta let him finish.
Yeah, I'm looking through it. They're making claims here. There's a few quotes in here. There's some videos of Keith Ellison caught on tape. But the one that they're sourcing is this one. Is when Ellison says, "This is the first I'm really hearing about it. This has not come to my attention until now." And these two statements are in contradiction to his previous statement that he had been deeply involved for 2 years in holding Feeding Our Future accountable. So you can actually criticize Keith Ellison. So where he said, hey, your office said you were involved in holding these people accountable, and then 2 years later you said you hadn't heard about it. You can properly criticize him for that. But this in itself is not evidence that he tried to stop the investigation.
Just
not at all.
Yeah. So are you arguing that he's just an app?
That the Attorney
He
General...
can be. He can be. That's the thing. He can be inept and it not be corruption. But this isn't a debate about whether Keith Ellison is inept. It's a debate about corruption. Oh, they're such cowards, dude.
The Attorney General...
I agree. Thank you.
So understand what you're... So this conversation is not about alleged ineptitude. And if you want to say ineptitude...
All right. I'm lifting the membership requirement. I'm doing it. I'm lifting the membership requirement. All right. Because I love you guys so much, but you do have to be a subscriber for 5 minutes. 1 minute. Okay? I have lifted the ban. Now you may speak if you wish. Now you may speak. Let me see if my chat on YouTube pops up. Nope, still that, but that's all right. I have lifted the ban.
Having corruption occur under your watch constitute itself corruption, then we, again, have a big problem with the Trump comparison, which is what this debate is about. And since you guys don't want to go deep into your actual definition of corruption as it relates to immigration, I tried to engage you on that. You don't want to do it because you know you're going to be cooked. Let's just start talking about the open and notorious...
So
you made a claim...
Hold on. You guys...
Hey, what's up?
Respond. Dev went through one.
Pleasure.
Pisco gets to go through one, and then we can go.
On the immigration stuff, basically what
Pleasure
what was said by Gibbs
That's
is that
cool name.
he doesn't agree that legal permanent residents should be able to vote in any context. But that doesn't show
How are you
corruption.
doing
How does that show
today,
corruption?
dog?
What does the Constitution say about legal citizens?
Yeah, the Constitution doesn't say that one needs to be a citizen to vote. Show me where it does.
It doesn't say that. It doesn't apply that. There's no.
It doesn't
no
state
law
that.
regarding citizens.
There's a U.S. law on the books that says that U.S. citizens, in order to vote in federal elections, you need to be a U.S. citizen. But the Constitution doesn't address municipal elections and who has a right to vote in those. And states have, for many years, allowed legal... So my question is, but even if that's wrong, why is that corruption? Let's say that it's wrong as a matter of law. Are you saying that... Is that corruption in your view?
Answer that question, though, right? You just asked them, why is it corruption, right, or wrong for non-citizens to be allowed to vote in local elections. Is that a correct?
Why is it corruption is the question. Whether you agree with it or not, why is it corruption?
Okay, I'm going to give it to Rift and to Gibbs to answer that question. Rift, why is that corruption?
I mean, on the very narrow framing you're putting it, that itself isn't. In fact, it's supported by the entire concept of federalism and the 10th Amendment.
Beautiful.
If individual states want to do that,
So let's
that's
move
fine.
on.
When fuckstick states, you dumb cunt, when fuckstick states like California turn it into we're going to give everybody with a driver's license a voter ID card, and internally they make it very easy for their citizens and non-citizens to be able to get into the federal ballot box, it is fraud. Now we
Wait,
can argue
so
omission,
you're saying-
commission,
hang on
intentional,
a
otherwise.
second.
However, it is literally fraudulent when you are creating a system that allows people to circumvent election law. It's
Hang on a second.
Go
So,
ahead.
But,
so
but
you understand
who would use
conspiracy
that
and
as the
fraud to be
definition of
equal to-
corruption? Good. How about you? I'm doing well. And hey, what's up? Good to see you, Caleb. Looks like your chats are now entering into the mainframe. One moment. I don't know why. For some reason, I just can't see my YouTube chat. It's super frustrating. I don't know. Maybe it's just doesn't exist. There we go. Much like that guy here. I think I know. Let me go to select live source, activate selected. Better. You're going to see ASDF in there real quick. Okay, so now I should be able to take... One moment, guys. I know this is very much behind the scenes stuff, so I should be able to bring up my chat doc here. Never mind. Oh, there we go. There we go. Now I can see it. I have to check your email right away. I think I got it figured out, luckily.
having
yeah,
in
sure.
your mind
I'd
insecure
appreciate
election
it,
system.
Kayla,
That is the
just so
meaning
I
of
can
conspiracy
see
and fraud. Yes or
what
no?
you're looking at.
That's not what I said. You're making shit up.
Hang on a second. So is it your position or not that having insecure, what you deem to be insecure election systems, is that fraud and in your words conspiracy or not?
I said what I said.
I'm asking you directly. Is that
Rephrase
what
it
you?
for the audience, please.
You're asking me a question in a reframed light to pull out a binary that isn't something I don't hold either
I'm
position.
repeating back
It's
what you
one of the
just said.
shittiest things to do in
no,
conversation.
then-
I'll repeat what I said then. I'll repeat
Yes,
what I said.
repeat what you said, please.
What I said was when shit-skin states like California allow
Whoa. Did you guys hear that? He just said a slur. Did you guys hear that? He just said a slur like a fucking idiot. If you guys missed it, he said, when shit-skinned states. Can you fucking, like, you're on a panel, bro. You can't just say slurs like that, you fucking piece of shit. I wanted to bring your attention. Well, thank you. I appreciate it, Kayla. But that is just... Did you guys hear that? He literally just called California. Here, well, let's rewind it back. And when I was watching this, when I was pre-watching this, I was kind of baffled that he said this too.
further.
Yes,
What I said.
repeat what you said.
Something I don't hold either
I'm
position.
repeating back
It's
what you
one of the
just said.
shittiest things to do in
no,
conversation.
then-
I'll repeat what I said then. I'll repeat
Yes,
what I said.
repeat what you said, please.
What I said was when shit-skin states like California
Shit-skin states. Wow. That is just so fucking disgusting. Exactly, Pleasure Boaster. Pleasure Boater. That's just gross. And again, he is in a debate that is, you know, Wix panel is very well respected by a lot of the individuals. That is just so insane that he said that.
allow for their driver's license process to basically hand out voter registration and make it very easy for non-citizens to get access to federal ballot box, that becomes fraud.
Is
That's
that an ad
corruption.
hoc rule,
Yeah.
or is there a principle behind it? So is that an ad hoc rule? It's only when California does it, or a shit stink state does it. What's the I'm trying to extract the principle from your rule there, and that's why I asked you the question. Are you saying that abiding by what you deem to be an insufficiently safe and secure election system is that in and of itself fraud or conspiracy? That's what I'm trying to draw. I'm assuming that you're not having
never
an
said in
arbitrary
itself
or ad hoc
fraud.
rule.
It's
So,
with the
so
intention.
the question,
It has to
so
be
if it's
intentionality. Whenever you're ready,
okay,
it's the
so if it's so since what you said is there's an intentionality to get illegal immigrant voters, what's the evidence for that?
Well, that's easy.
They're
I can-
funneling fucking money to non-citizens in
Hold on,
California
who's-
to get them
wait,
to show up.
wait,
When you
wait,
create
wait.
the fucking financial
Wait, wait.
incentive, when you create
To
sanctuary,
show up for
these
what?
are fundamentally DNC policy. To show
Yeah, that is a fundamental
Wait,
Wait, wait,
DNC
so, the
policy.
DN so what's the evidence that the DNC is trying to get illegal immigrants out to vote? That's what I'm looking for.
I mean, listen, there's hold on. Let's just take this.
You have nothing. Just like your example
No,
with
no,
Keith
no,
I
Ellison.
do want you
Nothing.
guys, Gibbs, and I'm going to give it
There
to you,
are
Gibbs.
Sure.
He
no,
asked,
lots-
what is the evidence that the DNC or the Democratic Party or Democrats in general are funneling money to get non-citizens to the
vote.
ballot box?
Yeah, I mean, I would argue. I think Streamer started done a fantastic job setting this up. It's really the incentives, right? If I set up a system, say, hey, come here, you're not going to be prosecuted if you come here illegally. Then I say, hey, we'll even give you a state ID, which makes you like a quasi.
Where's the evidence of
class.
intentionality?
You can't be full. Hold on, full. Okay, listen. It's called deductive reasoning. I know that's something you should have as a lawyer. So let's just use that real quick. If I'm sitting, I'm going to
I
use.
think what happened with that, Kayla, is it created 2 separate chat rooms when I went live. So I think that's what happened there, unfortunately.
I think the best shown by example. I own a ranch in a small town outside.
I don't
right?
think
I
I'll
live in
be
San
able
Antonio, but I
to
have a
fix
ranch
it
outside,
until
right?
I end the
so I can run
stream.
there. I have
But
a
thank
homestead there. I
you.
wanted to claim that as my primary residence. All right, now
Yeah.
my family and friends there. Hold on, listen. I listen to you the whole time. It's very polite. Just
Yeah, but I'm not telling you my
Now,
fucking life story,
Hold on.
dude.
No, there's an example here, right? And this is going to prove from the Republican side. This will also be fine. If I win an election or I get somebody in there, and what I do is go, okay, I'm now allowing, since I only have a 51% majority, legal citizens to vote. We'll get enough people to allow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go get as many legal immigrants from Mexico, and I'm going to put them on my ranch, and I'm going to start saying, okay, boys, you've been here just enough now time. You're going to come vote, and I'm never going to get unelected ever again. Because
Yeah, so-
anytime that the margins despair, and that's fraud. That's depriving.
Yeah, so what is the evidence? So the question wasn't answered. 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 So the question will be repeated. And the question is as follows: what is the evidence that you have? So
do sanctuary cities invite
sanctuary cities are sanctuary cities. So sanctuary cities have nothing to do with what you're talking about. Sanctuary cities. So sanctuary cities. So the death of Alex Preddy isn't what this is about. This is about corruption.
You talk about it, you fucking 10-minute
so you don't understand because you're low IQ. So the reason I brought up Alex Preddy and Renee Good. So the reason I brought up Alex Preddy. The reason I brought up the reason I brought up Alex Preddy.
Yeah, help him out with statement.
I'm not saying I'm allowing him to finish his statement.
Yeah,
Everyone
okay,
gets to
okay,
finish their statements here. I'm trying, okay, to get you guys to finish your statements. Pisco, finish your
Yes.
thought. Be brief. Then we got to move on.
The reason I brought up Alex Preddy and Renee Good in the context of a corruption debate, not an immigration debate, not a trans debate, not whatever voting system security debate you want to have. The reason I brought up Alex Preddy and Renee Good, it relates to Trump's interference in the Department of Justice in preventing the Department of Justice from working alongside the state investigators in that case. Unlike what is typically done in these kinds of shootings, is to work together. That's what was done also in the Charlie Kirk shooting. That's what I'm calling corruption as part of a track record, of the administration that has so far been completely unrebutted of political interference in the Department of Justice. I laid out case after case after case. You have nothing to say in support of those decisions and the rampant corruption that we're seeing, and is acknowledged by your own fucking propagandists like Megyn Kelly, etc.
The whole fucking reason why Alex Preddy and Renee Good got shot was because state authorities stopped working with ICE. So for you to say that feds should then comply with the investigation of blah 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 is kind of fucking weird. Because if the states were being cuddly with ICE, Renee Good and Alex Preddy
You know you
would
just
still
fucked
be alive.
yourself, right? You know what you just said. You know you just fucked yourself, right? You just said that because the state, in your mind, you don't agree with their sort of policy on immigration in collaboration with the federal government.
I didn't say
that
whether
when
I
there's an
agreed or disagreed
officer,
with it. I'm just
when there's
saying
an
there's an
officer
inconsistency.
involved shooting of a federal agent, that they should scuttle the investigation and refuse to collaborate with the state where one of their citizens just died. You really believe that when Trump was allegedly elected president,
By the way, if
under
you guys
this
are
government,
enjoying the stream,
that he
don't
didn't
forget
have a
to
duty
like
and
and
obligation
sub. It
to
helps out the
have
channel.
genuine investigations into members of his own electorate, into people that he swore an oath to protect, and that because the state government disagrees with his that it's somehow justified or not corrupt to politically involve oneself?
Did I let my Discord know that I'm live? I don't think I did. I am so sorry, okay? I'm bad at alerts. All right, guys. Oh no, I did. Okay, good. What can I say? What can I say?
How dare you say
But
that?
what
That's
up? The
fucked up.
Biden administration literally sued the state of Texas while it was trying to do the federal duty of protecting the fucking border. The
True.
executive administration Biden admin didn't even fucking it wasn't bad enough. They weren't doing literally the whole fucking.
None of that is
uniting
corruption.
as states is partially to help.
So first of all, I supported Biden. Biden was based in that lawsuit.
Then when the executive branch takes government resources to prevent a state from being able to fulfill the obligation the executive branch itself is failing at doing is insane.
So Biden was based in that lawsuit. It's not corruption, even if you disagree with him. I supported the administration in that lawsuit, and Biden
I
won.
don't doubt
And
that you supported
Biden was being successful in that lawsuit. None of that is corruption. What we're acknowledging from the Trump administration is a rampant, unrebutted history and track record of political interference in the Department of Justice. And you guys have nothing to say in the defense of the administration, which was partly bandying about this notion of weaponization. You have nothing to say about the anti-weaponization fund, the slush fund. You have nothing to say about the political process. So then defend the administration on so everything that you brought up are policy arguments regarding immigration. What you said about Keith Ellison, totally
policy arguments.
nothing to do with
You're so
corruption.
fucking stupid at
The fraud example is instantly debunked. The Keith Ellison connection instantly debunked by death. Instantly debunked. And so now the question is before you: defend the corruption of the Trump administration involvement in the DOJ. Defend it.
So since you're slow, I'll go ahead and we'll walk through this. Voter ID, men and women's sports, and deporting criminal aliens is
See, look, he doesn't want to talk about it. It's so cowardly, bro. He just is constantly doing this mealy mouth. Oh, I don't know. You know. What am I playing? I am playing a game called Star Sector. It's a fun game on PC that I very much enjoy.
exactly what
And it's
Democrat
fun to
voters want,
watch
and their
while,
representatives don't do it. So when consistently
doing
voters are
something,
voting
you
with
know
their
what I mean?
dollars, the taxes, and they're in the ballot saying, "Here's the money, tax
That's
money,
not
tax
corruption,
is
even if it
gone.
were true.
Here's the
That's
people
not
who want
corruption,
to
even
do
if it were true.
and
That's
then
not corruption,
they
even if it were true.
literally act against explicitly what they're.
So Trump's corrupt because he said no new wars, right? Did Trump say no new wars? And so he's corrupt on your view?
So I'm
First of all,
Yes or
let's make
no?
sure-
You're
You
making a
cuck.
category
Answer
here.
the question.
What
Answer
a
the fucking question.
coward! Look, he won't answer the question. That guy should play Fallout 2. Hey, maybe at some point I will actually. I very much enjoy older games like that. So, hey, maybe I will. Maybe I will.
Oh, yeah, the category area is relates to Trump.
The entire group, right? No,
Okay, well, here.
Yeah. So
Let's-
Trump
let's-
is
let's-
never
let's-
corrupt.
Let's give it to
let's just-
Dev. Give it to
let's just
Dev,
cut through it
and
real
I'm gonna
quick.
read some super chats after Dev
Okay.
goes because I need to make a
So-
little money. Dev, go
So,
ahead.
so just real quick, do you two agree that the Trump crypto rug pull stuff that was corruption? Like, yes, obviously it
Not
was.
necessarily. I can grant it for this argument. And
Wow.
Wait,
okay.
why not dumpster it? That's one of our main contentions too. Is corruption
Because you
related to
guys
foreign
want to
payments?
masturbate over a number, and I think that the entire institution. Well, you're sitting here on YouTube and Twitch screaming and crying like schoolgirls about Trump and whatever else. The conservatives have been furious at our federal government for a long time and ready to take
That's
action.
tangential.
And
The
so you
question
guys are
is
sitting here
about it's
crying, you guys are
tangential.
sitting
No,
here
first of all, no, you
because
cheer on the
you're
corruption.
you guys
It's
are here,
tangential.
you
You cheered
guys are
on.
here, you guys-
Okay, well, hold on. Stream Riff. If you don't think it's corruption, why? Explain.
So I came here to this
stuff,
debate to take a shot at the DNC against Trump. The premise that Trump could even possibly, even if he hit, let's say he did your number, 3 billion. In fact, let's say he did 10 billion in corruption. It pales in comparison against what the DNC has done for the last 4 decades in this country. So if the debate prompt is still the Democrats are more corrupt than Trump, I'm saying I'm going to give a free pass to all of the rank and file Democrats. I'm not going to besmirch their good name in this, the fucking DNC. And against Trump, it doesn't even come close.
You
The whole
acknowledge
point-
it's corrupt. Trump's corrupt. You acknowledge Trump's
Okay,
corrupt.
well,
10 more
hold on,
seconds,
wait,
10 more
just wait.
seconds, just 10 more seconds.
Yeah, go ahead.
The whole point is, fuck this fighting DNC versus Trump bullshit. If we don't like our government, less than 10% of us
You're
vote
here to
in
debate
primaries.
that.
Actually fucking do something.
I want to the thing.
Okay, before anyone else goes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Super chats.
Yes, I do have to make a little money.
Well, I didn't get an answer to my
I'm
question. I wanna
wondering,
hear-
I'm working on a full Fallout playthrough right now. I'm in the middle of my Fallout 2 playthrough, and it's actually a gem. Yeah, I
how
love
you
Fallout
don't
2.
think that
I
crypto
love
stuff
all
is
the
corruption. Like,
Fallouts.
give me
They're
your logic
great.
how it's not corruption.
That's
I'm-
fair enough. I will suspend super chats until that answer. Well,
Yeah, I mean,
But did you know that Fallout was always woke and gay? Can you believe that? Yeah, that's the meme. Fallout has always been woke and gay, in my opinion. This guy answers a yes or no question as well as Cash does under oath. I know, bro. They never want to do it because they know if they admit to that that's corruption, then he's totally fucked because Trump has done all of this in spades. All of the things they're accusing Democrats of doing. Taking like for example, Stream Riffs here. What should we call him? Because he did use a slur. He called California a quote shit-skinned state. So what should we call him? Discord mod? Should we call him what should we call him? He does look like a Discord mod and not, you know, my Discord mods are amazing, absolute Chads and Stacy's. But he looks like he hasn't seen the better half of a shower in a while. That's all I'm gonna say. Shit breath? Ooh, that one's good. Shit breath here. I like it. I like it. That's what we're gonna call him.
I'll tell you how.
dodge all the time.
I'll tell you how.
By the way, I, you know, me and Gibbs, we disagree on like basically everything. But at least I don't think Gibbs is nearly as bad as Stream Riffs here is like an actual Yahtzee.
I'll tell you how. And I think
Go
it's
ahead, tell
actually
us. In a lot of
simple.
ways.
One, but like, I don't think it's corruption. One, because first of all, if we're talking about corruption, there's I guess 2 types that I really would like to focus on. There's governmental. And then there's personal, right? And yeah, let's just, if I were to grant that the Trump coin thing was corruption, which I don't, I think he did it, he really wanted to do it. We've seen crypto be a key piece of his legislature. He's been working on having a like sort of thing where he has all sorts of different crypto as backing. I honestly think that he was hoping, excuse me, it would be a successful coin. Now, it's not corruption if you put forth something personally that you hope and your people hope will be successful. Now, I don't think it was a rug
Yeah, he's
pull.
going to give away the $2 billion that he earned there. Are you shitting me?
It was
However,
on his
hold on. But even if you grant it as corruption, that's still the personal form. And what I think me and Streamer are really pushing at is, oh God, is that basically we're really worried about the governmental, institutional corruption and that it's occurring at every level within the Democratic Party.
We have
Are
to
you
narrow in
okay?
on this.
Are you okay with the personal form then?
After super
Like,
chats. Dev, I'll answer
Dev,
any
ask your
question you want.
question. Dev.
Yeah,
No, I didn't like
are you okay with the personal
Oh
form?
yeah, what an absolute idiot. Don't worry, Kayla. You can go off.
Corruption then?
Well, not really, but if it's not coming out of my tax dollars, then it's not.
Wait, it
really
absolutely is. Wait,
It's different when
there's
the
no
weight of
such
the
thing as a
state
free
of
lunch. Wait, are
It's
you?
not-
The
yeah,
weight
I
of the state is backed
yeah.
by it. Men with
Yeah.
guns can
No,
come and
it
enforce
is-
it.
no,
It's
It's
very
one thing if it's one thing if I'm a dumbass and I thought I could get like scammed by I don't know the Nigerian prince, right? Or if I get dumbass and someone scams me, and, or my grandma out of like her life savings because she thought she was talking to I don't know Heath Ledger. back
This
in
is
the day. I don't
exactly
know,
like that. Can I
that's
explain why?
That's one thing. That's one thing. It's different when the government is forcing me to do it at an institutional level.
No, you are paying for it. Corruption, this is why I think people like Ossoff are so based on it. Corruption is something that you have to pay for. Trump is using leverage that belongs in trust to the American people and is using it to pad his bank account, right? And so you just gave an account for these crypto deals. Like, what public interest
Isn't Trump
is
in his bank
served?
account?
What public interest is served by him making out like a bandit with a deal with the United Arab Emirates? What public interest is served
he didn't
with him?
have to
With
pay the
him,
plane. That was pretty nice.
that's different. That's Qatar, different countries. United Arab Emirates, Qatar. Okay, so so the first one I said was United Arab Emirates. What public interest is served by him? Okay, let's say we need a new Air Force One. We need to be upgraded. What public interest is served by doing that, spending all that money to upgrade it, and then get that quote unquote gift from Qatar, and then letting it be used for his personal usage in the presidential library? There's no public interest there. It's just his own benefit, and it costs you money.
Hold on,
Respond, and then
Gibbs is a weasel. Oh yeah, he totally is. I don't hate him as much as I hate the stream riffs, dude. Though. I'll just be honest.
super
Yeah,
chats.
yeah,
One
sorry,
response,
yeah,
one super. Like, go
Yeah,
ahead.
that's dumb. The president, even on any personal duty, if you want to go see their alma mater has a alumni meeting, he has to take Air Force One or Marine One or be like otherwise transported. This is like something they talk about with Air Force One being replaced all the time. So that gift actually saved us money in the long run because we did that.
They talk about it all the time, and that's the reason that they switched over. That's the reason, huh? Interesting.
I'll let you do super chat, but that's so naive.
Yeah, let's
It's
get to
crazy.
some of this money. Speaking of corruption money, super chats are not corrupt. They are free range, okay, homegrown, and there is no corruption in super chats. Lawson Harrison for $5 says, "Durr, what about Hillary's emails, Durr?" Grassroots Hegemon for $5. If you say Curtis Yarvin 3 times in the mirror, Dev will appear. I don't know if that's true. $10 from Tristan Thomas. Dinner's going to be great. Pisco is cooking. Thank you for that $10.
Yes,
$20 from
sir.
Susie Mags because I was late. Well, thank you for the $20. $20 more from Susie Mags because I was late again. Did you mean to see that twice? Thank you for the additional 20. £10 from 4NEU. If we're going to start using alleged, then allegations have been made that Trump killed one of his underage rape victims' babies. If you want to start using alleged,
True.
then you are fucked.
Yeah, so when I mentioned
That was-
alleged,
that was
That was
his
Pisco's
answer.
opening.
no.
That was his
When I said as alleged,
In your fucking opening,
when
you
I
said
I know
alleged.
what I said.
You
listen,
opened
I
it.
know exactly, and I don't step away from it in the slightest. So first of all,
Alex Jones alleged that they're vampires.
so
You
to
agree that they're
respond
vampires?
to respond to what you're saying,
Yes or no?
and this kind of absurd
Yeah,
take
answer
on
the question.
alleged, which means like I guess right now if I say Trump destroyed an entire galaxy that we don't know about, I guess Trump is
Thanks.
worse, right? Like that's not what I was talking about.
So
When I said
powerful.
as alleged, I mean the House of Representatives under the control of the Republicans making formal allegations in their impeachment inquiry and in the report that they released. Those are the allegations that I'm saying are pertinent, not just anything a crazy person fucking says. But you guys want to play these word games and act like there's anything inconsistent. And if we're gonna play that,
It was word games.
no,
Well,
no,
okay.
Okay, great. It was $10. It was $10. Let's not give him a $50.
I love Wick's money grab. Not money grab, but hey, what's up? SHLY Fins. Schly Fins. How are you doing, dog? Hope you're doing well.
$20 from Anana's Spy. Pisco, please run down the differences between financial disclosures between MAGA SCOTUS justices and the liberal ones. Thomas, Elise, Allison, and I'm assuming he means Alito's. Thomas, Alito's, and Robert's corruption should be on the table too.
Yeah, so
don't like be brief with this.
Yeah, I'm actually not super convinced that I've seen at least sufficient evidence by my mind to show that there's been corruption in terms of what Thomas received, Alito and others, and so
See, I disagree with Pisco on this point, and he's kind of doing he is a lawyer, so he does have to show respect for the court and all that. But I completely disagree. I think that Thomas is extremely corrupt.
So yes, the lack of disclosure is very troubling, and they do preside over some cases involving some of these repeat litigators. But I haven't been seen enough to demonstrate that that's like why they took any particular official action or to lead to an inference in that direction. That said, I haven't looked that hard into that. I've been focused more on Trump, and so I'm open to further investigations. One of the actual worst parts about the Trump administration is that we're not getting investigations into the corruption that's going on. When we did have that in the first Trump term, at least with the Mueller investigation, and obviously with Hillary Clinton and Obama, there were internal investigations. He's fired all the IGs, and so we're not even getting that. And so we should get that for the justices, and we should get that for the current administration.
$5 from Firearms and Fitness. Just got here, but you're either the dumbest person on earth or a liar if you think Trump isn't the most corrupt president we have ever had.
Well, this is actually
Amen.
excellent.
No, not even close. I mean,
Amen.
Ulysses S. Grant, even as I'll stop saying even as alleged, but yeah, he had corrupt people in his administration. It's not even close to this shit. This shit is comical. Even your own side, even people who support, even Ben Shapiro acknowledges this shit. Even you guys aren't really supposed to.
Shapiro's an Israeli dude.
He's also an American, but even putting that aside,
American interest at
Nick Fuentes says this is the most corrupt. If
Nick
you're
Fuentes
picking
is a
the,
Democrat.
Okay, put it aside. Then Ann Coulter, she's not a
Fuentes is
Democrat.
better source.
Okay,
Richard Fuentes is also a
Fuentes.
Democrat.
So I watch America First. Fuentes says he wants to see Democrats taking power and to do these investigations because they'll make him hurt because his administration has been historically corrupt. That's Fuentes.
Yeah,
Ann
he's also
Coulter.
allegedly funded by the SPLC. But, yeah.
Ann Coulter said that this is the most corrupt administration in the history of the United States. She's not a Democrat. Megyn Kelly said the same thing. I mean, it's comically corrupt.
Well, the SPLC funded the guy who the organizer, the right rally.
Yes.
What we heard, the very fine people like.
It's so hilarious.
This is a Democrat
Okay,
ran organization.
we got it.
So I can address that indictment.
There'll
Yeah.
be more super chats that
Oh,
you
yeah,
guys can yap on. I promise. $5 from Potter Politics. Gibbs said he didn't want to cite alleged fraud, but is now citing alleged fraud. Charges are not convictions.
Also true. On the question
Also
of the SPLC, that one is even as alleged there, right? I'll say it again. There, it's that they were paying people to be like insider informants, and that is
Yeah,
not.
that's
And
what it
by the way, that's the Southern Poverty Law Center. That's not the.
Yeah, and they also funded. They also
fired
funded
2 out of the
recruitment. That's also
three-
even if they
funded
did a
Ida
crime,
Robes.
Yeah, this is also this would I would personally say is a big part of what corruption is, in terms of like trying to. This is actually, oh my God, this fits in with Shitbreath's proprietary definition, right? Entrenching itself in power against the will of the people. So even then, even with Shitbreath's incredibly proprietary definition, it still fits. I think that should be telling.
Funding the
So,
material to burn.
I believe that-
and they funded the guy.
So I'll be honest with you. So I believe. Let me finish.
While one of the funders and organizers was fucking
So
a leader.
remember,
So you're
it's
not
a
even-
$5
how do you
super
make this
chat,
up?
Wait, but I just want to finish the sentence. So I think the SPLC indictment is evidence of further corruption of the Trump administration. But even if you believe that this indictment was based on all that stuff, all it would show is that a private organization did a private crime. That's not corruption.
Pisco,
Criminality by
like,
itself is not
based as
corruption.
hell.
It's a private organization that labeled every conservative commentator a person in a hate group. They're also the one, by the way, if you voted for or talked about Plantner, they're also the ones that said, and this one didn't go, oh, he didn't know it was a Nazi tattoo.
So
They're the
Trump
ones
was
that said,
convicted of fraud.
hey,
He's
hold on,
corrupt?
hold on. They're the ones who said the U.S. military is a bed for white supremacy.
So Trump was convicted of fraud. He's corrupt, right? So Trump was convicted of fraud. He's corrupt, right? So Trump was convicted of fraud. He's corrupt. So Trump was convicted of fraud. He's corrupt, right? Or
It seems like you like Nazis. I don't know.
so Trump was convicted of business record.
He froze.
I'm here, testing.
Hello, Pisco.
I'm here. Hello.
His internet. The
Oh,
Messiah.
yeah,
Welcome
you
back.
cut out. You cut
Okay.
out.
Am I better now? I dropped some frames.
You are
Is that
better
good?
now. Okay,
Okay,
$5 from Pondering Politics. Also, for your info, Trump has pardoned fraudsters, some healthcare, and wiped out at least $2 billion in victim compensation. with
100%
those
true. 100% true. And we have evidence that they're talking about healthcare fraud. They're literally getting lobbyists in bed with Laura Loomer. I don't know if that's figurative or literal, but I assume figurative and metaphorical. To get these fraudsters, these convicted fraudsters. And if you're a Goiper, you should pay special
That
attention to
was
them
good.
because they're all part of like
That was
pro Israel.
good.
I'm not alleging that. I'm just saying,
Goiper,
if you're a Goiper, you should pay extra consideration to this. Trump did that and wiped out all sorts, millions of dollars of compensation to like employing like nurses and to these old care facilities. And so you don't give a fuck about that corruption. You don't give a fuck about that fraud. You're
Or
just
you're just making shit
lying.
talking out of your ass because it's easier for you to just spew out.
Wait, what about what I just said is
And the
untrue?
other person
What about what I
has-
just said is untrue? Name one thing I said that's untrue.
Why
You
do you
said-
feel
you
the
say
need
that
to
we'd be
always
okay
impose
No,
with
hold
the burden
on.
on
Gibbs,
the other
stop.
side?
Let Rift go. Rift, repeat
Yeah,
yourself.
like Pisco. So you sit here, you say a bunch of shit, then you sneak in your version of the facts, then you make some arguments and do a monologue where you've got a nice little short story where no sensible
What did I say
person
that
can
was
engage
wrong?
with a single fucking thing you said.
Can you identify
I'll
a
give you
statement I
one,
said
one
that's
very
false?
clean thing.
Okay.
Give you one very clean one, and you're never going to stop interrupting, and I get that. But I do think maybe you could get better. So one example is I care about all of the fraud and all of the corruption. It's not there's not a lack of consistency on that. My entire premise. So you ranted for 5, 10, 20 minutes, whatever your opening was, and I had a concise claim. And I essentially said, even if everything you guys want to say tonight about Trump and his entire administration is true, it pales in comparison to 4 decades of machinery. And you never engage with that because you can't. That's a much bigger
I'm
claim
happy to
you
do
can't
it.
defend against.
No, we did it, and you guys got
Then why did you
absolutely.
do it
So
for the
I'm
last hour?
so I'm happy. We started on Democrats. We started on Democrat corruption, and you said, well, this Democrat
not
machine.
corruption.
The essence of what you were saying was that this Democrat machine is ignoring the will of their voters when it comes to voter ID, when it comes to immigration, and all
One
these
of-
issues.
one of
But
my several pillars.
Yeah, that pillar is just nonsense. It has nothing to do with corruption. It could be the case that the Democrats are ignoring the will of the voters and it not be corruption. There's nothing inconsistent about those things. That and,
No, hold on.
and what
Pause.
I
How
showed you
can
that
that not be
crush.
consistent?
Yeah. So here's an example.
How can it be consistent
because
that they will not act
because
in the interest of their voters and they're
yeah,
not
not following the interests of your voters is not the
You're
definition. Is
not
analytically.
representing.
Yeah. So
You're
analytically,
representing them,
analytically,
not owning them.
analytically, the definition of corruption just is not listening to your voters. If that were the case,
Sanctuary
you would-
city corruption.
Well,
so,
let him
so
finish.
you accuse me of trying to dodge
Briefly, and
your
then I
main
have more
argument.
super chats. I don't know why
You're trying to say this
yeah,
pales in comparison to the
yeah.
decades of the DNC bullshit. First of all, you're just misattributing who's responsible. The DNC isn't like controlling all of these politicians. The politicians themselves are the ones making these kinds of decisions. The DNC has less power than that to just control all the politicians in the world. They don't do that.
It's a bullshit
But-
claim. Of
no,
course,
no,
they all
it's
vote together. Republicans.
yeah, they vote together. Yes, I'm not saying they don't organize. The DNC isn't the organizing body there.
Oh, okay.
So maybe you're using
okay,
DNC.
so
We
but-
gotta
Super chat.
move on. We
Wait,
gotta move on.
we have to move on to what? Super
What are the
chats?
super chats?
Yes.
Okay.
I gotta make more money. Okay. $5. Look, the next super chat is going to be about the same topic, and you guys can continue. I promise. Okay. $5 from Stormwolf. Why do red states have higher welfare and fraud than blue states? $5 from Annan's One Spy. Texas. Ken Paxton rings a bell. Gizmo Snoopy for $5. Are whip panels 3 strikes and you're out? After the US aid and this debate, only one more Gibbs nightmare before we get better and more honest guests. That's not how that works. And then $10 from Pondering Politics. MAGA
That was
Republican
good,
Senator Rick
not
Scott
gonna
resigned
lie.
as Columbia HCA CEO after the company pled guilty to the biggest
By the
healthcare
way,
fraud
love
in U.S.
Pondering.
history, $1.7 billion.
Pondering is such a based Chad. Shout out to Pondering Politics. If you guys aren't sub to him, you should go sub to him. He's a cool dude. And I get some of my news and information from him, especially when it comes to like political related news. He's very good at that. Shout out.
Okay, now you get
Good.
it.
Yeah, so
Good.
the
And
claim was that
that's
in view of these
actually a great
facts,
example. That's actually a great
That's
example. That's actually a great example, Pondering. And the wonderful thing about that is that shows it was a personal person doing it, and then he was doing this and using his power as a Republican to get in there on these boards. And then guess what? When it was corruption, he got fired. He was out. That's much different than what Streamlift and I are alleging. And this is why we keep bringing up saying sanctuary cities and whatnot. Sanctuary cities are predominantly, even when they're in Republican-held states, or in predominantly held Democrat districts, like 90% of the time, 95% of the time. We want to go to the map. Y'all can check that. And really argue about the percentage ratio. But I think we can all agree sanctuary cities are predominantly in Democrat-held areas. And when we look at this is the exact kind of corruption we're talking about. You bring in illegals, you incentivize them to come, you give them some
So
sort of
can we
ID.
pause
They're
right
like,
there?
this is
Let's
hold
address
on, we can keep. Yeah, this is institutionalized.
So the
corruption.
claim is that sanctuary. The claim, I'm trying to follow you guys because you guys don't want to defend the Trump corruption. You just want to go on the offense, and I have no problem whatsoever swiping away your bullshit. And so you just said sanctuary cities are corruption, correct? Did you say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we said that.
So what is it about the existence of sanctuary cities? Someone who supports sanctuary cities, who says we should not comply with what ICE and DHS are doing, that entails corruption.
Okay, great question.
Yeah, it's real simple. They're ignoring federal law in regards to immigration in order to like, supplement their voters.
No, that's not true. No.
Yes.
Federal law.
Yeah,
Federal
no,
law.
because- no,
Federal
no,
law
no,
in
let me
cases such as.
answer it. Let's answer it. So
The
when
housing
Biden
bill
admin
became
drops
law.
4,000
Yeah, I saw that. Did Trump end up signing it, or did it just pass the 10-day mark? I would be interested to know that, because I think it's incredibly sad. The level, it's just sad to see our politicians like just sit on this disgusting position of not signing anything until their bill gets signed. Like that's not how our politics is really supposed to work. Yeah, he pouted it into law. Amen. Hey, what's up, Never Under Pressure? Hope you're doing well. Hope you are doing well.
immigrants into a city with 2,000. The city that was there has no voting power anymore. They're already outnumbered.
That's a different topic, Stream Riffs. I know that you're not following, but the topic was
Come on,
sanctuary.
thank you so much.
Sorry.
What part of it's
So
sanctuary?
the claim is,
Jesus
so
Christ,
you guys can't
making
stay on
me
one claim.
blush.
The
You
first claim,
yourself in the morning.
the first claim was sanctuary cities.
The claim you've been making the whole time.
The first claim you said was sanctuary cities are corruption. And do you want me to address that claim or not?
You don't like
Yeah,
the answer. I
because-
think
because
it's
it's-
understand.
So
speaks
when
to the
I
overall
start talking,
institution.
when I start talking about
Party.
sanctuary cities, you say you move on to a different policy. This allegation that Biden is dropping off immigrants in particular places
Because
to make sure.
I know what you want to do, Pico. These are all connected issues. It's not like I can do this. What
so-
you're doing is very dishonest. When you go,
it's
one
not
policy,
dishonest
you
to
only
talk
talk
about things
policy.
one
These are
at a time.
interconnected webs.
Yeah.
But it is dishonest when you want. Listen, anybody can look at one thing and be like, in and of itself, that one thing is not this. But whenever you combine them and you layer, it's like Jenga. If I just go in there and I grab all the ones.
So are
from
you
the bottom,
conceding that
they're
sanctuary
all
cities
over.
are not
They're
innately corrupt? Are you conceding that sanctuary cities are not
they
innately
are
corrupt?
innately corrupt.
Okay, so
Yeah,
now I
they
want to
are
address that, right?
innately
So can we address that, or are you going to move on?
I do want to know why they're inherently corrupt. I am curious.
Dev, under American law, which you said you're not familiar with, and I appreciate that. Maybe you'll be able to help us all make some progress here and break some bread. So if you've got a city with 100,000 people in it, and it becomes a sanctuary city, and they let 10,000 people in and let them vote, and it skews policies towards the people who let the immigrants in, do you think that that's election interference, fraud, corruption of any kind?
I need more information to make that determination.
Okay, I mean, but like if they've, you can see why some people might.
You're asking a
Like,
question.
if
You're
you
not
let 10,000
establishing
people
why it's
in,
corrupt. Why
laying the
sanctuary cities?
foundation,
Yeah, so no, you're not. You're
I'm
asking a
laying the
question.
foundation, counselor.
So we want to know why sanctuary city policies are corrupt, and to
Okay,
give the
I
audience
got you.
some view into,
I got you.
so to give some view into what these sanctuary policies entail, and as has been held by federal law, that there's no commandeering of state officials and state apparatuses of enforcement. That is a principle that's been expounded by the Supreme Court. So
Yeah,
not
ask a
only is
question,
it, so
keep
not only is
answering
it, so
that. Keep
no,
answering.
I'm going to explain
No, keep
exactly
yapping.
that these sanctuary policies have been approved by Supreme Court, now existing Supreme Court precedent. Now the question for you guys is, why is refusing to cooperate with DHS as has been approved by the Supreme Court of the United States? Why is that corruption? Answer it.
Oh, real simple. How about if someone sneaks a bomb through because they didn't
Oh my God.
work with DHS and it blows up? Is that corruption? Yeah, absolutely. That would be corruption. Like when you're sitting here arguing this, the idea that
You think
people that
bombs are
actually-
corrupt?
say,
Is
oh,
that corruption? Hold on.
okay,
Why
so,
is someone planting a bomb
it's real simple.
corrupt?
Hold on, let's
Isn't the bomb itself-
strip it to the. Let's hold on, please. Let's
The
strip
bomb
it
itself
to
is not the
principle
corruption, but
behind
the
it.
people allowing it to go behind it. That
Yeah,
is
if you can
corruption.
show that, if you can show that,
If a community votes and says, "Hey, we don't agree with this federal law, so we don't want any of our local officials to cooperate with federal authorities in
No, I didn't hear Ro Khanna was detained in the West Bank. What the hell?
enforcing that law," is that corruption?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. There's a whole fucking civil war fought over states' rights and federalism, and guess what? Federal law supersedes local law, doesn't it?
Well, I'm
So
going to
federal- when there's a conflict, so
so
let-
let me,
wait.
since I'm cutting him off, you should let me. So here's the deal. When we have federal law that says these are the rules and states have their own laws, there's not a dispute that it's illegal for an immigrant to vote in a federal election. But when it is corrupt, when the entire state of California makes it easy for immigrants and incentivizes them coming, and then we have en masse illegal voters voting in federal elections.
We're not talking about voting. We're talking about sanctuary cities.
Yeah,
what about that is
these are
voting?
examples of illegal immigrants being like
It's a vehicle for it.
Okay, hold on, guys, hold on. I think I know.
Davis.
So I think I know what you're trying to say. You're saying that there's a city, it becomes a sanctuary city. The Democrat politicians who run that city incentivize bringing in a whole bunch of illegal immigrants. They give them voting ID. They allow them to vote illegally. And then suddenly what ends up happening is these Democrats, they keep getting re-voted in by the illegals they brought in. And you're claiming that's corrupt, right? That's your argument.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Importing
That's
voters.
That's just one type of corruption.
Well, we'll just
Like,
wait.
the
Let's
superintendent-
talk about this one then. Let's talk about this one. So I understand your point of view. Where is this actually happening?
The entire state of California and Minnesota, these are a very common leftist approach. It's actually
Okay,
accepted.
Oakland,
They're literally-
yeah,
can you
Oakland,
just finish 10 more
Oakland and
seconds,
San
10 more
Francisco.
seconds?
So
Yeah,
your
literally,
claim is the
we have-
Have they
entire
defined corruption in this debate yet? Yeah, so it's very proprietary, their definition of corruption, the rightoids here. It's very proprietary. Their definition of corruption that they're trying to use, and failing, by the way, is when an established political entity subverts, the will of the voter and doesn't do the policy they want and entrenches themselves in power. Well, that's a horrible definition because any definition of that's just so proprietary. Sorry.
state of California.
Well, let Rev finish, please. And
With literally,
I don't know why people look, I need to stop reading super chats on my own before I actually read them. But if you're gonna lie about what I'm doing, then you can leave. I don't know what you're trying to say. If we're gonna just lie about what I'm doing, I'm gonna lie about what you're doing. And you're not gonna like the lies I make. But anyway,
what?
go ahead.
I didn't say
Stream riff. Go ahead, please.
yeah, it's just for example, we've got actual illegal immigrants being elected to offices as well. So it's not even just
It's a super weird definition, dude. Super weird.
who may or may not have voted for the person they liked. Gibbs, would you say there's one in Oakland and one in?
Yeah, Oakland, San Francisco are both examples.
Who
of this.
was
Like
the
I said,
illegal immigrant
very
elected to office?
proprietary.
Oh, that one's Iowa. I have that one right here. You want that one? That one is right here. Is give me 2 seconds. Iowa superintendent, illegal super.
And while he's looking that up, the other thing is that the DNC and its
Andre Roberts, and not only that, he voted in 2 elections that we know of. So we have not only do we have illegal voting, we have an illegal that was elected to superintendent of a school district or appointed. One of them, I'm not sure who's elected, but some of them are. Some are appointed. And this is a low-level managerial position for the Democratic Party, or any really party if you get that. And this is what I keep talking about with streaming. It's so bad that it's all the way entrenched all the way out from the low level to the top. You know, there's that movie, The Jungle Book, and there's a scene where he talks to the governor. And the governor's like, I have friends in high places. The guy that's throwing the coup says, I have friends in low places. This is what they're doing. They have the lower level people in place. And this Iowa superintendent is a great example of this. Someone that's voted, has a position of power, and influences policy. That's corruption at every level.
Wait, so Iowa? So the question is Iowa? So the question is Iowa a sanctuary city? That's the question.
Oh, that is not what I just said. You
Wait,
just asked-
I'm asking the question: is Iowa a sanctuary city or not?
Well, Iowa's
It's
not a sanctuary. It's a city.
Okay,
It's a
so
state.
Iowa. So it's fair.
Answered.
So
Now you're done. Now you're done. You asked a question. It got answered. I ran for public office, and what happens is a lot of times that in the conservative side, the Republican
This
Party, and on
guy
the Democratic
ran
side,
for
federal
public
funding will come to
office.
help do
Think about
campaigns. And so
that.
for someone looking to get into a lower level office, what they'll do is they'll do co-branding, and they'll say, I'll go knock a bunch of doors, I'll co-brand with my local brand, and I'm going to support fill in the blank. And so what ends up happening is the DNC funnels cash to all districts, which we would expect. And then what ends up happening is you could have some candidate who's poorly vetted or not vetted at all take a couple of bucks. Like, for example, in Nevada, they were arguing on abortion. They were talking about bodily autonomy. That was a big talking point. So if you had a candidate and you would go out and talk that point, they'd literally give you money for postcards. So you could have someone say, okay, I'll say that. And also,
I'm not going to
along
get
with
distracted.
Somalia or
Okay, so
whatever else.
let's go to
And
Des Moines.
then you can get money for this and get support.
So we're addressing first and principally.
illegal immigrants
So we're
is corruption.
addressing
You get that?
we're
You get that
addressing
part, Pisco? Yes or
we're
no?
addressing
Yes
first
or
and
no?
foremost.
Funding illegal
So wait, I'll
immigrants
answer your question, then we're going to what I'm
campaigns.
saying. So what's your question? Repeat your question.
Is funding
DNC
illegal
funding
immigrant
illegal
corrupting?
immigrant
Yes or no?
campaigns.
Yes.
Wait, no.
Funding the
No, you just said campaign. So no, say that one more time.
Funding the campaign of an illegal immigrant is corruption.
Not necessarily. No. Not necessarily. No.
Okay.
Is the answer. That it is possible to fund a
I
campaign.
don't get-
No, it is
I
possible.
hear
So
you.
a
You know,
private
it's
person.
fine.
So
You
I'll
have
give you
something else.
some examples. So I'll give you some
Just say
examples.
something
So I'll give you some examples, and then I'll get to what I want to talk about. So Streamers just said
Yeah.
it's de facto corrupt to fund an illegal immigrant's campaign for office. No, it's not. If someone is a private citizen and using no official power and is just funding something because they want to support their candidate, that's not corruption. If someone doesn't know, someone who is an official, someone who has some sort of input into enforcement agencies, if they don't know that the person's a legal immigrant, that's
Well,
not
it's
corruption.
about the DNC,
And so the question,
just to be
and then the
clear.
DNC, yeah, so that would depend.
That's what we're talking about.
That would depend on whether or not
Yeah,
that would depend on whether the DNC was aware and had the right scienter and intent. So I answered your question, and you got obliterated. So now addressing.
Okay.
These are the claims that you brought. You raised. You raised sanctuary cities. No, you're gonna get debunked right now. You're not gonna get away from it. You are not gonna get away from it.
The claim you just said. You said, "Oh, are those people corrupt?" No, you're right. Those people are corrupt. Those people are victims of corruption.
He asked the question. So Gibbs,
your answer is yeah.
Gibbs, go drink another vodka soda. Go drink another vodka soda. You're not. Go drink another vodka soda. Hey, the big boys are talking now. Go drink another vodka soda. Hey, here.
Okay. We actually have to address something. Dev, you had a response to that?
No. Do not save them. Wait. Do not save them. Do not save them. Wait. Do not save them. So first of all, the question was asked. The question was asked. So he complained that I didn't answer the question. So he complained. So I'm going to finish if it kills me. He complained that before I asked my question after he derailed, that I wouldn't answer. So I answered the question. The question was, is funding someone? So the question was as follows: is funding someone who happens to be an illegal immigrant corrupt? I said no, not necessarily. That answer was true, and that answer was accurate. And I gave an example of instances where you would acknowledge that notwithstanding that you're funding an illegal immigrant scam, notwithstanding. But I answered the question accurately and honestly. And now we're going to go. Now, so now what we're going to do. So now what we're going to do. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at your claim. Your claim was sanctuary cities are corruption havens, and your evidence of that is, well, look, they elected an illegal immigrant. And then you're like, wait, where did they do that? And then they said, oh, it happened in Iowa. And then I was like, well, is Iowa a sanctuary city? Like, no. And then I looked into it. And wait a second, let me finish it. You're not. Wait, he's not getting away from this. He brought up, this is his example. No, this is his example. We're gonna go through it. So you get debunked. This is the MAGA. This is MAGA through and through. You can. So this is exactly. No, let me finish my fucking thought. This is exactly what we're getting. They bring up their own example. They bring up their own example of sanctuary cities, and they say sanctuary cities allow for all of these candidates who are legal to go to office. They brought up an example. Gibbs brought up an example in Iowa, and in Iowa, it is not. Not only is it not the case that it's sanctuary city, it is against the law. It is against state law in Iowa to have a sanctuary jurisdiction. So I'm going to ask Gibbs that it isn't true, right? That your example is furthering your point, correct?
I literally said, if you had listened, clearly didn't. I was like, and I'll give you an example of a non-sanctuary city. And then I gave the Iowa superintendent who was illegal.
But you were asked about sanctuary cities. That's what you were asked about, not non-sanctuary cities. That's your example, right? You were asked about sanctuary cities, not non-sanctuary cities.
Just a real simple thing. You have an example from a sanctuary city.
Absolutely defeated.
Sure, you got. I mean, really, okay, sure. Any election that the legal.
Did we ask for non-sanctuary cities, or did we ask for sanctuary city analysis?
Hold on. We asked you. The topic once again is fraud, and which one's worse, basically.
It's about corruption, actually. Hey, why no? It's about corruption, actually.
Hey, listen, it's crazy. Is I can still do this hammered, and I would still be more coherent and more correct than you ever would be. Just like you got caught here.
Well, you're hammered and you're incoherent. You're hammered and you're incoherent.
When you just passed off. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. I'm going to adjust. Sure, I will adjust that. Any example? I'll give you an example. Any election that has been held where legal citizens are got the vote, that is a fraudulent election, in my opinion.
So Trump's election was fraudulent. I want to hear you say, was Trump's election fraudulent? Was Trump's election fraudulent? Yes or no? Was Trump's election in 2016 and 2024 fraudulent? Wait a second. Did illegal immigrants vote in 2024 and 2016? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, you just said if an illegal immigrant votes, it's a fraudulent election. You just said that, right?
Yeah. So there's a difference between a federal election where that's illegal for them to vote, and then they get caught, and a local election where they're encouraged by the Democratic Party.
So how is legal conduct corrupt? So how is this legal conduct corrupt?
Hold on, stop, all of you, stop. Okay, I don't understand in a fundamental level. While if a locality wants to enable any voter, illegal or illegal, to vote in their local election, how that is corruption because the local citizens have decided to do this. Why is that corrupt? You could say it's wrong. You could say it shouldn't be done, and you would disagree with it. But walk me through, please, how that is corruption.
Do you have people now voted in illegal citizens where legal citizens vote? Do you have people that are voted in that are going to implement policy?
Why are you asking questions? Why don't you explain? Why are you asking questions?
Because times you get lost. Give just a second. Pisco, you don't get lost. The reason why you
I'm not lost at all.
Because you don't let people ask questions to check in along.
You are like
you say we grant this. Yes.
I'm scared for your health right now, Gibbs. I'm scared you're going to pass out how drunk you are. You're not tracking the conversation.
I am too.
Will someone getting elected make a policy? Yes.
I do want to rebuttal this real quick. This drug claim that keeps occurring.
I don't care about the drug claim.
You just admitted it. You said you were plastered.
I once again never said that.
He said if he was plastered.
Here's what the best part about this is. Once again, I've already laid out, and pretty much laid out how this is fraud on multiple levels. Once you get somebody
that's the thing.
Sure. I know we have a bias moderation. You have to save them. I got you. Hold on. Let me help you out there. So you can stop saving Pisco, and then you'll.
I'm not saving Pisco. I'm trying to understand the fundamental pillar of your argument.
Okay, cool. It's real simple. Once again, this is why I gave the example in the town. If I started importing illegal immigrants and we started voting, these people are never going to get saved. Now, what's going to happen next is we're going to have people putting policy in there that's going to benefit me exclusively and benefit the people I have under my payroll, i.e., the legal immigrants, right? Because guess what? I can pay them as a ranch owner, and that's not illegal. illegal. Guess what? So then once again, I turn around. This isn't corruption at that point by the legal standards, right? But it is corruption when we start looking at the overall, because I'm impacting people not only in my county. I'm picking people taxes wide because of policy that goes against what federal mandate is, which is federal mandate.
You don't like the policy, therefore corruption. That's your analysis.
So once again, when we talk about, hold on, let me finish though. Once we get what we just talked about, what Pisco did is so dishonest. What Pisco said this whole time is very dishonest. And so take one thing out of context, like, oh, well, the person donating
You're like,
campaign,
Nino
that is not corruption. That is not corruption.
Therefore
Like, I agree, that is not corruption. That would be victim. They would be the victim of the fraudulent campaign where someone who is illegal has ran for office, like the Iowa example. Yeah, and that's a total
So
mistake.
Gibbs,
I know Pisco's confused.
like 20 minutes ago, I asked for evidence of sanctuary cities allowing illegals to vote in order to corruptly entrench Democrats into power. I haven't heard an example.
I gave you two. Oakland and San Francisco both allow illegal immigrants to vote, and both of those have people I would argue they put in power because of illegal immigrants voting or legal immigrants voting.
Do you have names of candidates that have been put into power in these places?
Any candidate in those towns that are Democrat, like because of these policies.
Oakland and San Francisco. Okay, that's the claim.
So Oakland,
I mean,
San
those are
Francisco.
good
No,
examples.
but the question is more fundamental than what Wick asked. Wick asked the fundamental question, which is, let's even grant it. Many of these jurisdictions require you to be a green card holder, but let's just put it aside. Let's say that a jurisdiction grants, and the citizens come and say, we actually want these people to be part of electing local superintendents or whatever. We think they're part of the community. How is that corruption? That was the question that Wick asked. Even assuming that happens.
A very clean answer is the fact that it manipulates the amount of congressional representation that they get and affects
No,
the
it does
amount
not.
of votes that
I'm talking about
California.
I'm talking about the lower level, too.
No,
Hold on,
it does
just
not.
as a matter of fact,
Process.
just as a matter of fact, the allowing them to vote or not allowing them to vote
Is
will not
irrelevant,
change
yep.
the amount of representation. That's both based on the census,
Well,
and the
good.
census does not
Question is
consider whether you are
corruption,
voting or not.
Well, it could affect the state legislature. If you're voting at local state level, you could affect state policy, which is still millions of people. Like, that is a
No, but the question is
if
asked.
every province that had, if every province that had a sanctuary city that got 1 million Americans got an extra 20% in the provincial budget, would you consider that corruption?
Sorry,
Depends on the purpose. It depends on the
Yeah.
purpose.
So
It
if-
depends on
so
how
let's
it's
say
implemented. And it depends on how it's implemented. But again, you're asking more questions. You're not explaining. You're asking more questions. You're not explaining why.
interrogating
We explained it. You just explained it.
So you're
I
just
just-
Hold on, I'm just trying to figure out how it's corruption. That's
Yes,
all.
that's what
all
we
I'm
got to,
doing.
and you're
This is
talking-
a little bit
answer
more
that
perception, but
Listen,
I'm
this is
trying to
Angel's tactic. The Democrats' best tactic is to bleed ignorance and not know what we're talking about when obvious things are being
hold
obvious.
on. No, it's not. That's the problem. It's not obvious to me, and that's why.
Yeah, no, I think I was
wait.
making progress with Dev, to be honest.
Sure,
I've
go ahead.
been
You're
very
right.
pleasantly surprised about how well this.
But that is okay.
He's been crushing you at every
Dev,
moment.
However many
Yeah, but he's
provinces
a
you
good
have
faith.
out
I don't
there.
know if he's crushing me, but
We have
we had a
10
sanctuary
provinces
city.
and 3 territories.
Okay, great. So is that like, okay, so of those 13, if you get an extra 1 million Americans to come, and they're illegal, but if you get them to come anyway, your province gets double the budget. So all of your taxes are cut in half, benefits are doubled. So the states have that, the provinces and territories have that incentive. Would you think it would be fraudulent or corrupt for one of the parties to make a sanctuary city for Americans to try to get them in so that way they could get the votes and also help secure the control over that budget?
If it turns out that all of these illegal immigrants overwhelmingly vote for one party over another, yes, that can be corruption. The issue is that I don't see evidence of this happening in the States.
Well, and that's fair. And that's why I appreciate you engaging
Well,
with this.
you understand that's why
Might
they're
not agree.
asking for example.
Everyone has been asking for evidence
Yes.
this whole fucking time. So don't act like, oh, we finally got to a point of result.
No,
Like,
let
have you
Riff
forgotten the
respond to
conversation?
that, please. Let Riff respond to that.
Like,
You
I think, for
understand that
example,
this is why Dev and me and Pisco have been asking for examples, correct?
right. So the premise here is that there's an unreasonable burden Pisco likes to throw. He likes to throw a ton of questions, ask for far more proof than he'll offer, and come with no good faith. What Dev just did right here in real time was I said, okay, well, let's say we're not looking at the specifics before we go hunting for specifics, especially because it makes it easier to move the goalpost if you don't button it down. Let's agree. And I gave a very on-the-nose example. I haven't proved anything. But in application, what we know is California, for example, has sanctuary city. Demonstrably. There's no question about that. Arguably, it's a sanctuary state. I don't know. And you got to believe it's an incentive for someone to come if they're going to be protected and they're going to get benefits. So there seems to be an actual act of corruption if you're trying to incentivize illegal behavior using
But
government funds.
what is the evidence of that? Is what you're being asked for.
I mean, it's pretty clear that whenever everybody asks, I mean, this is a selling point for the libs that I hear all the time, is that all these people just want to come to America for a better life. And if one of those ways they have a better life is they come here legally and get incentives like government welfare, or they can get government driver's licenses, they can get into programs like, I don't know, trucking programs we've seen that kind of be on the news recently. Some
Yeah,
of them
so-
legal,
yeah,
some
so-
not. I mean, these are all examples of incentives. Now, I don't know
Now
about
for the
you,
kill
but
shot.
now hold on. I've done sales
And
for my whole life.
you have no
Hold on,
evidence.
hold on. Now, I've done sales my whole life, right? So I guess this is anecdotal. But part of the way you get a sale is you hit them with all your incentives. And this is the same thing here, is they're selling this to these people. Now, I know you're a lawyer, but it seems to me like you should have gone back to community college and took a logic class, because this is an A to B to C kind of thing right here. And I don't know why you're exactly confused about
Yeah,
it.
A to B to
If I
C
get
is just like
incentive,
you
if I have an
having
incentive,
a
I tell
senior
people
moment
to
or
do it.
something. I don't know what to
Oh,
say about
yeah,
it.
senior
Yeah,
moment.
yeah. So like,
That's a good
this has
one,
been
I
a
guess.
thorough.
I
So
guess.
so we tried now numerous times to engage your immigration arguments in good faith. You have zero evidence other
Oh,
than
look, everything-
other than
Literally,
other than you're just
The
you're saying
DNC
you're saying
literally
you're saying you're going to
literally,
assume.
the Biden administration
No,
told
it's
the
assuming.
state of Virginia they cannot take illegal immigrants off the voter rolls. This happened in more than one state.
So
When
you are
literally the way that the
mischaracterizing.
state is being
You are
used to
mischaracterizing those court
purge
cases.
of illegal voters.
You are
That seems like
mischaracterizing.
corruption to me.
So there's federal law that prohibits certain clearing of voter rolls, and that is as a matter of federal law that states
Yeah,
are
you're
bound
defending
to.
it right now.
That
Defending
states
the right of
no
the
that
illegal
states
immigrants
no
to
no
voters
that is a
to be
decision.
able to
That is a decision. What you again, as you guys manipulate, twist, and outright lie, what you're referencing is a slew of challenges where the courts upheld the statutory commandment of Congress to limit when you can purge voter rolls, and you're saying that states being in compliance with binding law on elections is evidence of corruption. It is laughable. You have had the opportunity now to make your case about Democratic. You had your opportunity now to make the case for Democratic corruption. You wasted all your time on these bullshit policy arguments that are not corruption. So why don't you defend the actual corruption that we're seeing in the scores of different areas areas, billions of dollars in the Department of Justice, most specifically. So why don't you defend that? How about the slush fund? Do you support that? Is that corrupt? Yes or no?
No, it's not corrupt. It's a normal executive function. There's an expectation that they're going to have a liability.
So Trump
for the chief
being on both
executive
sides of the
officer.
V.
Let me answer, you retarded ape. Why is it so fucking hard for you to let people answer? You sit there and you say, oh, well, people can't answer. Oh, they don't answer.
Damn.
You just said it wasn't
Did you
corrupt. Why
just
not?
hear? He just did another slur, calling him an ape. What the fuck? This shit breath guy is really a gross dude.
The chief executive officer of this beautiful country knows there's an outstanding liability. Things like the FBI going after conservatives, people being censored and silenced, people being held without proper charges, all sorts of civil liberty violations. It is the most normal thing in the world to allocate funds for expected litigation losses. This is fucking normal shit.
So what they're trying to tell you right now, what these MAGA dick sucks are trying to tell you right now, is that Trump being on both sides of the V, he is the plaintiff in the case, and he also controls the Department of Justice, giving a generalized fund of about $1.6 to $7 billion to be used on the people where he is in charge of where this money gets doled out of ultimately. That is not corruption.
Doesn't the
That him being
judiciary
on
have to
him
sign
being
off
part
on this? So
him
isn't
being part
he literally
so
still
no
liable?
Let Pisco
no
finish, and then you go.
so he was operating
You're
on
making a bullshit point.
it was a collusive lawsuit in which he is operating as the plaintiff and the defendant,
Bullshit.
and he's created what about that is bullshit?
So
Bullshit.
you say there's no factions within the U.S.
So
hold up,
was
let me answer
Trump the
this
plaintiff in that case?
dumb
Was
man.
Trump
Whenever
the
you're
plaintiff in that
ready,
case?
whenever you're ready.
You just said it was false what I just said. So was Trump
Whenever
the plaintiff in that case?
Whenever
Was Trump the
you're ready.
plaintiff in that case? Was Trump the
Well,
plaintiff in that case?
you've asked, hold on, Pisco, you've asked him a couple questions. Your first question is what is bullshit?
Yeah,
Answer
what is
that
bullshit?
question, Riff. What is the bullshit?
So Trump did not make the DOJ spy on him before he was even elected as the president. So the fact that he happens to be holding the title of the president right now is at least slightly limited by the fact that when they started violating his rights in some of the most egregious ways possible, including violating the Fourth Amendment, they did that both as a sitting president and as a citizen. That's kind of fucked
When did they
up.
violate?
He
So,
didn't make them do that.
when did they violate Trump's
He
Fourth
didn't make them
Amendment?
do
So first of all, your argument is bullshit because I'm asking you what about the
You're too
collusive.
stupid to know this.
So I'm
What
asking.
is
So I'm asking what the collusive. I'm asking whether or not what aspect of the collusive lawsuit was bullshit. But now let's get more specific. You said Trump's
You
Fourth
added
Amendment. So you said Trump's Fourth Amendment rights were violated. When were they violated?
Starting no later than 2015.
Wait,
Counselor.
what happened? What was the thing that was the violation of Trump's Fourth
There
Amendment
was
rights?
a FISA warrant issued on a U.S. citizen, and they
Just-
did illegal wiretapping.
Was Trump?
Crossfire Hurricane
Was there a
still
warrant? Was there a
prosecuted,
warrant
still
issued
out
on Trump? Does Trump have
I
a
have a
Fourth
question
Amendment?
for you.
Wait, no.
Did he
Answer the
make them have
question.
to do that?
So does
Did he
Trump?
make them do that?
So does Trump? He didn't have control of it. No, but does Trump have a Fourth
Okay,
Amendment
so
interest?
how is it exclusive?
Does Trump have a Fourth Amendment
How is
interest?
he on both sides
Does
of the
Trump?
V?
Does
How
Trump?
does he
So
govern an
so
actual
does
government?
Hold on. Pisco's asking a question.
Does
You-
Trump have a
he
Fourth
answered
Amendment
for it.
interest? Does Trump have a Fourth Amendment interest in the communications of Carter Page?
So what part of a
Answer the
US
question, you
citizen
cuck.
and sitting president had a wiretap on them with an unlawful?
He didn't
warrant?
have it. That was
Only
on
in the
Carter
wake of-
Page. What's the Fourth Amendment violation? Does Trump have a
But
Fourth
you-
Amendment interest in
it's
Carter
not-
Page's communications?
Let me ask you a fucking question, you retarded waffle. Okay, does the FISA warrant, are those for U.S. citizens or for, and I'm going to give you a hint, the F in FISA is foreign.
It's for
What-
both.
what is it?
You
Are
you
it a
don't know.
foreign warrant?
It's so
Oh.
it's so
Oh,
laughable.
okay.
It applies to both. You
Oh
really think the
my
FISA only
God,
applies
that's
to non-citizens?
insane.
So FISA applies. So FISA applies
That's
broadly. That's not the question you're asking. The question is,
insane.
does Trump have a Fourth Amendment interest in Carter
said his
Page's?
claim was bullshit.
Wait, no. You said that Trump's Fourth Amendment violations were violated, and you pointed to the FISA warrants against Carter Page. My question
The
for you is:
underlying
Does
argument
Trump
is what you're
does Trump have a Fourth Amendment interest in Carter Page's possessions, communications?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
you already
civil
gave
rights
it.
Answer the
violations
question.
before,
Hey,
he
why don't you
wanted
answer the
to-
question?
Hold
Does he
on,
have a Fourth
hold on.
Amendment interest?
Stop. He is asking you a question. Just say if you don't know, it's okay to say I don't know.
Well, he already gave
I'm
us
going
the
to say I
answer.
declined to answer.
You declined to
Hold on,
answer because
hold
you're a
on.
coward fuck because you know you got owned once again.
No,
Well,
if you
Pisco
had
already gave us
an
the
IQ
answer
as
when he
high as
said
you
that-
think you had,
So
what you could do is
do you
literally
concede
say,
that
"Do you know this
Trump's
thing?"
Fourth Amendment
If I
rights
said
were
no,
not violated?
You could have walked through it.
Wait,
I
so
said it to
so
him, say, do you know Carter?
you made a
Yes,
claim.
yes,
You're here for a debate. You made a claim.
Hold on,
So I'm not going to treat you like a
already
baby.
answered my- hold on, you already answered my claim, though.
Hey,
Which
this
was
is-
on that.
this-
Hold on,
so
hold on.
streamers,
You already
hey,
answered-
hey,
you already
streamers.
answered my
So the question is,
question.
you still-
Hey, all of you
Hold on.
motherfuckers.
Oh,
All of
God.
you.
Every time I start
Jesus Christ, all of you. Every single one of you. Okay, except for Dev's been a good boy. Stop. Okay? Pisco did ask a question. You declined to answer.
He
That's
didn't answer
fair,
my question.
but
Why
then he
does
gets
he
to
have to answer my-
respond to
hold on, he has to answer my question.
What's your question,
definite
Gibbs?
answer.
I'm not
And I
scared of your
promise
question.
you, after he goes, you will get a chance to ask your questions, Gibbs. But the problem is that you all keep interrupting each other, and it's
that's
making
great,
it almost impossible
Kayla.
to engage.
It's an attempt to try to forfeit the debate. I mean, when you say something ridiculous like, well, Trump's Fourth Amendment rights were violated, therefore he can do this slush fund collusive lawsuit, and when you don't even get the facts right on whether his Fourth Amendment rights were violated, and you embarrassingly choose to not answer the question because you know you're cooked, it's a way of forfeiting the debate and bogging it down.
Yeah, I mean, I asked a simple question: is are there multiple factions within the U.S. government? And by factions, I mean Democrat factions, maybe there's progressives, maybe there's whatever, or the Republican
I
factions.
assume. I guess there are
Okay,
people
you
who think
assume,
differently.
you
Yeah,
assume,
it's
you
a collection of
assume.
U.S. citizens.
But
Yeah.
when Streamer talks about, oh, this is a five-star warrant, I'm not going to try to dive into that. I'm not fully aware of all the details. However, I will argue that I've seen multiple times Trump administration have run-ins with people that are already entrenched in the administration. That's part of why he wanted to get Joe. That's part of the reason why he's had so much turnover. Is he's been firing all these people? Is because every time he tries to push something, he's stopped by this machine that the Democrats have entrenched. And that's what Streamer's talking about when he's saying,
That's
"Oh, okay,
so
they're going after
untrue,
with our laws."
Gibbs.
It is.
idiots.
It
That's
is.
so
Well,
what he's doing. Wait,
That's
so
what's happening.
the existence loosely of people with different ideologies and bureaucracies and agencies as a matter of bureaucratic culture, as a matter of just private interest, I'm sure that exists. But that doesn't prove that what Trump did isn't corruption. Trump is on, again, both sides of the V. He is suing the government that he controls. He is the plaintiff and the defendant, and he is giving sweeping waivers to himself for his own tax liability. And is yeah, so that's true. I said it's true.
You're saying both sides of the V, but you're acting as if somehow he was the one that created it.
No, but you just got cooked. You just got. So first of all, first of all, there's no. So first of all, here's the question. No. So real quick, Stream. No, I just responded to you. So what was the lawsuit? Was the lawsuit about FISA? Was the lawsuit about FISA? What was the lawsuit about that Trump brought?
So what part?
What was the
of
lawsuit about
the
that Trump brought?
Violations that the government had against Trump?
What violation was it? What violation was it?
Dude, they are.
I'm not litigating
So
that right
Do you
now.
know? Do you know or do you not know
answering
what he sued over?
questions.
It's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant what he sued over. You just heard him say it's irrelevant what he sued over. He's trying to litigate the merits of what he was suing over, and he doesn't know what he sued over.
It's
I'm
irrelevant
trying to
to the
figure out
point.
what lawsuit. Hold on, Pisco.
This is the lawsuit of the slush fund. This is the Trump versus the IRS case. He thinks it's about Carter Page because he's fucking stupid and brain broken. It's not about Carter Page. You realize that, right? You realize it's not about Carter Page.
Is this the one? Hold on, just for my edification. This is the one about the tax returns, correct?
That's right. Has nothing to do with the FISA warrant process, Stream Rips. So you got cooked again. You don't even know what the lawsuit was about.
You just cut yourself because you don't even know what he asked. Instead, he didn't say that. He said this has been a reoccurring theme where Trump has been attacked from within.
He said Fourth Amendment violation. Fourth Amendment violation.
By the factions that you already admitted are there.
He said Fourth
when you're
Amendment
saying- hold on,
violation.
So you can't sit here with a straight face and any credibility and be like, oh, since Trump is in office, everything that
Didn't
happens.
even know he was defending. So this is why this debate.
Dev gets to go now. Dev gets to go now. Dev gets a chance to
just
talk.
real quick.
And the debate he's a part of. Dev, go ahead.
So from what I understand, Gibbs, your view seems to be that every time Trump tries to do something, this group of Democrat operators, you can call them the deep state if you want.
I mean,
there are people. Yeah, there are people who basically are in like the middle level of the civil service who stop him, basically, and that's kind of
right. I'll give you a right-wing equivalent. Say Tim Paxton, I mentioned earlier, sued Biden. Would that be like Biden like working against himself if Tim Paxton does it? Like, no. It's like you have people like,
What a
I know it's a
comparison.
signal AG, but but I picked somebody that's actually like kind of doing something with their life.
Okay,
I'm like,
I
I think
understand.
it's-
Let Gibbs go. Let Gibbs go.
Well, I
I
would-
have a question for you after you do that.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
So Gibbs, real quick. Do you recall when we spoke last week?
Yeah.
And I showed you this, that the Trump administration is not going to do a Doge after action report. So there's going to be no public revealing of what Doge actually accomplished.
Okay.
Is this? Can we say that this is actually the fault of the Trump administration, or is this somebody inside working against Trump to not reveal what Doge has done?
Well, no, because Doge is part of a larger organization within them. So, like, I'm sure that if the larger organization doesn't have any kind of accounting for it, that would be a problem. I'm sure that they do. And if they don't, then, I guess I'll eat crow. But I don't necessarily, in and of itself, find no after action report from Doge specifically to be an issue, as long as their parent company or parent little organization does. But I guess that remains to be seen. But, like, yeah, I mean, on its surface, it's not my favorite thing.
Okay.
And the
Okay,
spirit of common ground, sure.
I do just
But
have
it'd be nice if they did
I do
release
just have to-
That's all.
I do just have to ask because, again, you brought up Paxton. If
Sure.
Paxton sued Biden as an example
Yeah.
to counter the claim that Pisco was making that the lawsuit about the tax returns
Was collusive.
was inherently corrupt because Trump controlled both sides of
Right.
the lawsuit. So, again, do you not think it's at least troubling that
I'm starting to think debating a conservative is a form of ableism. It might be. It might be, honestly. God, they are fucking him up right now.
the person who is in charge of the branch of government that is being sued,
After we get
and
to
if they do not
closings, I'll
settle, fire
probably
the
end the
people
stream,
until they
by
do.
the way.
Do you not think that that's corruption?
I mean, it could be corruption.
could
I'm not
be.
gonna say- right.
Please go on.
It could not be.
Well, no,
Just a second.
because I mean that would imply that the spoil system from the start that we've had in the United States is always going to be corruption, which I don't think is the case. I mean,
Okay,
there are
well, let me
examples
just
where
ask you
it's
this. Let me just ask you this, Gibbs. If you were being charged with a crime, okay,
Sure.
someone accused you of, let's say, theft,
Yeah.
right? You'd stolen $10,000 from Wick TV, okay? So I
Stole,
brought
yeah.
suit against you, but I could also force you to settle, right? Force you to plead guilty.
Mhm.
Would that be justice in your mind?
I would say probably not in that
No.
framing, but I would also say that's not what happened here.
No.
How is it not 100% analogous?
Well, let's see. Were these lawsuits opened? Partially while Trump was in office. And some of them were, right?
We're talking about what
Wait.
specific
No,
lawsuit-
but
the lawsuit
although it's interesting you raise that point. That's an interesting point to raise. I just have a question for you too. When was the leak of the IRS tax returns of Trump? When did that occur? Under which presidency?
I have to go back to insulting
Under
me
which
about having
presidency?
facts wrong on
Under
the
which
FISA.
presidency?
No, you can't just wander past stuff when you don't want to talk.
Wait,
No, hold on, no, Stream Rift. I asked a question, and
Okay.
I want to deal with this specific topic because it is
On the
one
lawsuit.
of corruption.
And the lawsuit.
Specifically against the IRS for leaking. I think it's
Yes, and that leak happened under Trump's administration, his first administration, and it was
So what does that have to do
prosecuted,
with the
and it was
price of tea in
because
China?
you said
He doesn't- he can't even fire people.
you said that this was
You think
all
he's a
done
predator, but
by
he can't even fire
Democrats,
people?
but because you thought that this was the FISA Carter Page situation, you were wrong about that, and now it's been revealed to you. I'm guessing for the first time that the leak happened during Trump's first administration, and it was prosecuted under Joe Biden, for which he received a harsh sentence for that offense. And so the question that is being given to you is,
Wait. So you
how is
agree
this
that
fair?
things opened up under minute? Hold on. So this comes back to the original thing when we were talking about Somalia and all the fraud. You're like, oh, okay. Hey, it started under Biden and it was finished under Trump. So this started under Trump, finished under Biden. So I guess Trump gets credit for this too.
Wait,
Do you see the problem with the logic? Like you're
No,
using it.
not
Why is
at
one
all.
count and the other one?
Wait, no, wait. So
So if Biden gets credit for that prosecution.
wait. Trump doesn't get
Trump gets credit for all the ones that finished.
Okay, hang on a second.
Hold on.
So
The
Biden,
lawsuit. Hold on. When do you think the lawsuit against
when he was in
the
office,
IRS
obviously, we're about to own him with that. Yes, it happened when he was in office. That's when it
What
was.
does it have to do with whether he's in office or
So
not?
you had just said,
No, because hold on.
didn't
Because
some of
what
these
Gibbs
lawsuits?
said-
The
I'm
answer
going to
was
explain this. I'm going to explain this. What Gibbs
Okay.
said was like, hey, if it started before Trump got into office,
Oh
then,
no, Trump was in office, and so it started with Trump, and it goes into Biden, right?
Yeah,
Biden closes it, and it goes to Biden.
No. Listen to Wick.
no. This lawsuit. Hold on. This lawsuit started on January 29th, 2026.
26.
And when did the investigation start?
What investigation? What are you talking about? Which investigation?
I want to hit it right on the nose.
So there's two different things.
There was no investigation before the lawsuit started.
Yeah, no, so-
Was there no investigation before the lawsuit started?
There was an investigation and a charge against this individual under the Biden administration, but Trump sued after while he was allegedly president in 2026, and this is the collusive lawsuit with the slush fund. That's what you're being
Yes or
pointed
no
to.
answer this one.
With
Yes
the
or no
lawsuit
answer this
starts,
one.
hold on. When lawsuit starts, that's the start of an investigation. Is the minute the lawsuit starts, they don't investigate beforehand.
No,
they just
there
file
was.
right
I just
off
explained it
the
to you. There was a government investigation under Joe Biden. There was an indictment. Well, maybe they investigated also during the Trump administration. Yeah, sure. He can get part. No, so if that's what you're referring to, we're not debating the indictment of this individual. We all think this person should have been indicted and prosecuted. Maybe it started during Trump. What we're debating is not the indictment. We're debating the slush fund and the collusive lawsuit, which is a different thing.
Here's the point that I'm making. Back to the original point we were talking about originally, right? So if the investigation started under Trump, finished under Biden with the lawsuit.
It sounds like Vince Val in a snowstorm.
And he was convicted, right? Then all the ones earlier, we said, "Oh, those started under Biden," and then Trump finished them. Those all count towards Trump.
So no. The point on that, right? No. So I'm not in the business of giving every president like automatic wins for things that happen under their administration. The reason why it's relevant, the reason why it's relevant to bring up that it happened under Democratic presidencies is to rebut the accusation of corruption that you levied. So it's relevant for the specific purpose of undermining the credence that this was motivated by corruption. In that, if it was motivated by corruption, we wouldn't expect to see these overt prosecutorial acts occur under Democratic presidencies. That's why the way in which it's relevant. But I'm fine. If you want to give Trump credit for the investigation of the leaking of his own IRS report, that's fine.
Was this guy?
I was going to respond, but then Dev was still going with his questions. But respond. I want to give it to Rift and then to Gibbs to respond, and then Dev continue your questions. And then I have a lot more super chats. But yeah.
So, Pisco, here's a signature yes or no question. I know you're a fan of them. Did the IRS violate Trump's rights by leaking his document, his tax returns?
Not his Fourth Amendment rights. No, not his Fourth Amendment rights. No.
That was the question. I said yes or no. Did they violate his rights?
I'm not aware that they
So what
violated
you're
his
saying
rights.
is that
The answer is no.
held accountable because Trump.
I didn't say that.
So
You asked whether
the answer to you is no. He said
So your question was whether it violated his rights, and my answer to that is no.
Cool.
What rights did it violate?
No, answer my question. Go ahead, Dev.
Do you assert that it violated rights? Yes or no?
Dev was going to speak, but yes.
Okay, what rights did it violate?
What rights? Yeah, what rights did he violate?
Well, so we have we have privacy protection on a number of things. We can't, like, for example, the government can't leak Medicare. So this is a part of where I think some of your bad faith. I cannot cite the law where I should not punch a cop.
He's
But
not
I know
asking
very
you.
well.
He's not. Hold on,
it's
just
illegal
real quick.
to
He's
punch
not asking you the law. He's asking you for the right. So the right to privacy. That's a perfectly valid answer.
Yeah, so here's what I'm saying.
Let me answer.
The IRS
I
didn't.
did finish. I didn't finish.
Please, Rift.
So the whole premise of this is if we're submitting our financial documents and our social security number and our business information and our business financials to the government, they do have a reason. There's some duty, I believe, imposed
Yes,
in them
to the-
actually
to
having
the
that
government.
information.
Yes,
and
yes.
I'm not done yet. So when the government, through its officials, violates that, leaks information,
They
I
didn't
believe
do
it
that.
creates an actionable event, and that's the entire
No.
premise.
So
of
it
why-
would be like, so here's the explanation. Your rights run to the government, right? If someone goes into your house, Streamrefs, and like does a computer espionage and steals your documents and all that stuff, yeah, no doubt. As against that person, you have a private cause of action probably under a number of federal statutes relating to computer fraud. The government does have an obligation not to release some of this information, but this was a rogue IRS actor over which the IRS did not approve that decision. And so the cause of action runs to the person who actually did the harm to Trump. That is where the where it happens.
Well,
but the
this
IRS
is
did
why
not do
this
it.
guy worked for-
Did this guy work for Obama though originally, and so then he got the job as a contractor with the IRS. After that, it seems
Oh,
like
the
Same answer. Wait, hang on a second. So I think he worked for Booz Allen or something. He was some contractor, but that doesn't change.
Really? That's
That doesn't change the analysis that's offered. Before, so understand where we are first, right? So first, the argument was
Which
we
debate
violated we violated the Fourth Amendment rights of Donald Trump. But you were crushed on that point. Now you're like, oh well, there's some privacy concern. Yeah,
So
listen,
you
there are
on that
regimes
point, on
there are
that
regimes
point,
of privacy,
because
but
you
they weren't
brought up
violated by
four or five
the IRS.
times.
The IRS did not violate his rights.
Reason why?
yeah. So wait, a
reason
former
why I
Obama
used-
operator,
just a second, just 10 seconds. The reason why I brought up a 2015 example was because it could not possibly be the case that the president had any opportunity to plan his own crime that way, and that was, or plan the crime against him or the infringement on his rights. So it was a timeline
Yeah,
argument.
but that's not what the
It was-
lawsuit was about. So you were just wrong on that. Why would you bring up an irrelevant thing? You were
I just
it was
told you why I
embarrassing.
brought it up,
Yeah,
and-
it has nothing to do with the lawsuit though. So why would you bring up something that has nothing to do with the lawsuit? It's like
this
this
is
is like what you're saying.
prosecution
Well,
fund.
you brought up this slush fund lawsuit, and then I brought up the one time some guy like ran
What's
over my
the slush
dog.
fund
Okay, so just to be
Is that
clear.
for J6?
So
Is this
just to be
for
clear.
rights violations by the DOJ?
So just to be clear.
And
So
I
just
guess IRS is-
so just to be clear, it would be like you saying, well, it was justified. It was justified for us to do the slush fund because don't you know they ran over his dog. And I picked that event because it like predates when he assumed office. That's why I picked it. It makes no sense. There's no connection there. What was the rights deprivation that is the cause for this collusive lawsuit? You've been asked multiple times, and there's no justification for the collusive
So
lawsuit.
it's been
How do you
labeled,
defend it?
So I'm going to wrap on this. It's labeled the Anti-Weaponization Fund, and I think that was the genesis of a very tangible example of the weaponization of the government against private
Do you have a defense for the
citizens.
collusive
So
lawsuit or
that's where
not?
the confusion comes from.
Do you have a defense for the collusive lawsuit or not for the slush fund?
the whole fucking point that you are evading, you're already assuming that the government individual actor that you just listed off here, who was or was not a contractor, did or did not work with Booz Allen, did or did not have connections with Obama, you're saying, well, it was a government agent, so they'll never be held accountable. So it's like the violation.
I never said
Sorry, I'm a little tired still. So
any of that
if
stuff.
I'm not
This is all-
speaking
I never
too
said what
much,
you're just
I
saying.
apologize.
He absolutely could have a case against this
Okay, hold
individual.
on.
Hold on.
Here, I have a question here.
Dev,
Stream Rift.
quickly.
Okay, so from what I understand, I've listened to this for a few minutes. It's your position that the government has an obligation to not allow your social security number, your other private data to fall into unauthorized hands, and that failing to do this is a violation of the rights of the victim.
Oh
right?
boy.
Yes.
So what do you have to say about the fact that somebody at Doge stole like 70 million Americans' social security numbers and other private data?
So
that's
did they
fine.
sell them on the dark web? What happened with
Oh
this?
my
Were they leaked?
God.
Was this information
Oh
leaked?
my god. Oh well, did they sell the information? Oh well, then it's fine. Yeah, no. This is the only in this context is the only case in which they would make that. And remember, these guys are all about privacy. They're all about privacy. But yet, when it comes to millions of people's social security numbers, that don't want to upset the boat there. It's just so fucking ridiculous. And it's so obvious what they're trying to do.
Oh, let's do apples to apples. Trump's information was leaked. Was this information leaked? No, it's
Hold on,
not relevant.
Wick, your stream died apparently.
Oh,
Which
and
stream?
Wick's
Oh,
gone. It's just us
Are you
now.
Are you still streaming at Pisco or?
I'm streaming. Yeah, I'm on live.
I'm also still streaming. Yeah. Don't,
Okay, you're still
don't,
streaming.
don't slurs.
We can keep going. Then we can keep going.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So yeah. Basically, he took the 70 million Americans' information and he took it
For
to
no
his
reason,
job.
just for fun. Yeah. He has no desires about appropriating that data at all. He just took it just cause. That's what you're saying, right, Streamriff? That's what you think is the best inference?
Well, so some people have the concern here is the rabid left would rather argue over things that eventually come to not be the case. And one of the issues raised while Doge was doing its work was they were blocking access to systems that Doge needed to do their work. So it's challenging to know if we're conflating
That's not what was
being
raised by Dev.
granted access when they were supposed to do
Dev raised something
versus
specific.
leaving with it.
Well,
That
these
raised something
people
very
didn't have
specific.
I
security
answered your
clearance,
question, you fucking cunts. Go
No,
ahead.
you asked the question. You didn't answer anything.
one-
You asked the question about whether he misappropriated the data. You didn't answer a question.
So
one, he didn't
Sounds
have
like you
security clearance to have his
misappropriated
data.
data. That one I'm less moved by.
And,
but
two, he took the data to his new job. Is the point?
And what was his new job?
What
Out of
was his
curiosity.
Who
Well,
cares?
change it.
What
Actually,
does that
actually,
change?
don't know.
I
I don't
care.
know what his new job is, but it is no. Well, no,
It matters.
because
At least
it
name
shouldn't
it.
go
You
to anyone
name
else
the
but the
business. How should I
government.
believe anything?
Well,
What was his
I'll
godfather's
tell you
name?
this.
Do you know that? What was his godfather's name? Dev, you idiot.
To the employer. What
Well, hold on.
is it?
This actually goes back to what I'm saying, right? And what Stream has been saying the whole time is if this guy did this of his own volition and he did it for personal gain, that's bad and that is fraud, that's corruption. I agree. I absolutely agree. However, this is not indicative of the entire Trump admin. This is different one guy. However, when I look at this Little John guy, this guy clearly seems to be a Democratic operator of some sort, and then he's releasing this kind of thing. And like this kind of goes
Little
overall back to
John.
what I keep saying, where there's factions within the Democratic Party that are sitting here have entrenched it at different levels in order to ensure that they stay in party in power unjustly. That is kind of the bigger corruption.
So no
issue.
problem. So you have no problem with slush fund, to be clear on corruption. No problem with it. You don't think it's corrupt.
I've already gone over this death several times.
But just on your disposition, do you think it's corrupt or not?
On its face, not think it's corrupt, but no, I don't like it.
So what about the James Comey prosecution? Let's move on.
I don't have the facts of J. Comey in front of me. So
Okay, so you don't know about James Comey prosecution 8647?
I
or the
don't
last
have
Congress?
the information.
Uh,
don't
Yeah,
have
he said something that everybody fucking knows what 86.
I mean, I'm sure if I saw you my talking
And
points, but I
here's
don't know
the
those
thing.
either. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
no, here's the thing. None of that compares to what Letitia James did to him in New York. So fuck you. Next point.
Wait. So now we're comparing, right? So,
Why?
so are you? So first of all, are you granting
No,
that?
Dev asked a question.
So
Dev,
wait.
answer.
Let's just establish.
Whenever he gets done.
Do you think that the Comey indictment is corrupt, yes or no?
Take your time. So Deb, I'm sorry. What was your question?
So do you think the Comey prosecution is corrupt? And then we can talk about
I
Letitia
didn't
James.
ask that.
Then we can talk about Letitia James. You brought something up. It's relevant. Let's
Yes,
first
why?
get your
Yeah,
let's first get your
yes, why?
disposition.
Yes.
Let's first get your disposition on the Comey one, so we can compare. Do you think the Comey one is corrupt? Yes or no?
So in the case against Trump, they sued him for.
I'm asking about
There
Comey.
was
Then
no
we can go.
complaint
Then we can go to
witness.
Letitia.
Bank that they did
We can go to
business with.
Letitia James.
Bank
We can go to Letitia James. But
Yeah,
let's get your
welcome back.
disposition.
Hey,
Are you back?
Let's get your
Welcome
disposition
back.
on the Comey one first. So you were asked the question: James Comey indictment. Do you think it's corrupt or not?
Yeah, I think you're obnoxious when I'm talking to Dev.
Well, no,
So
we
as
will
I
get
was
to
saying,
we will
yeah,
get to Letitia James, but we
let's
just
get
want to
to
know
the
your
point.
standard. Do you think the Comey indictment was
I'm
corrupt or
trying to
not?
lay it out. You're blocking it.
No, why don't you just answer it and then we get to Letitia
He
James?
asked the question. So he asked the question.
Answer first my question.
I'm gonna
Was the
answer
James
Dev's
Comey
question
indictment
first. He asked it first.
was the James
It's
Comey
just-
indictment was it corrupt or not? And then we get to Letitia James. We're not going to avoid it. We're going to deal with the Letitia James one.
So exactly what Letitia James did.
Was it corrupt to
sue
indict
on
James
the
Comey
act
or
of the
not?
state.
Can we get an answer to the fucking question? Then we'll deal with Letitia James. We spent 90% of this
You
talking
can
about
go with
Democrat shit.
Dev.
No. Answer the question. Was the James Comey indictment
Dev asked
corrupt
first.
or not?
Are
Was
you
the James Comey indictment corrupt or not?
Are you back?
Answer it, and then we can go to
I
Letitia James.
am, but we're still trying to get my YouTube stream back up. You guys go back and forth. I'm going to mess with this. But
Okay,
yeah,
so
answer
I'm
the
happy.
question, and
Streamers,
then
I'm happy to get to the Letitia James
Why do you
allegation of
think that
corruption.
you have to
Answer the
hog
James
everything?
Comey one.
You have to ask
Answer the
like
James.
two
We spent most of this time talking about Democrats, so just answer the Comey one. Do you consider the Comey one to be corrupt or not?
You're like a child. You're insatiable.
We've spent most of the time on your claims on Democrats. Answer the question.
Here, I'll hop in.
Yeah,
So
brother.
Stream Rift, what Pisco is asking is one half of my question, so you might as well answer it.
I want to answer it after I answer your half. I agree with you. I
Just
agree
answer
with
it now.
you.
I'm not going to
saying
let.
it's gonna be first.
So I'm putting my foot in the sand. I'm not going to let this continue unless you give an answer to the James Comey one. Then we can go to the end of the. We can spend most of the time on the Democrat allegation. That's you. By the way, we spent most of the time now on Democratic allegations that are all bullshit that you've made. So just answer the question simply. Do you consider it to be corrupt or not?
So I'm gonna go eat dinner soon. So as much as you want to put
Fuck
your
you,
foot down, I'm
pussy.
not saying anything.
Why are you even here?
Until I
Get
answer Jeff's
out.
question.
Get the fuck out. What are
Why
you
do you
doing?
have to take so much of the talk time?
We are pulling teeth to get you to give a disposition on one of the fucking indictments. You are a disgrace to the human race. Get the fuck out of the call. Why are you still here?
I
Get out of the
for
call.
like 10 minutes. What are we
Why
doing?
do you
That
invite
was
this troll?
good.
So
I love peace.
So
When
he just
Pisco
said, I'm hungry. I don't want to answer because I'm
makes fun
hungry.
of
And then
people. It's
after that,
pretty-
please go ask a question.
You are a rat. You are trying to give away our country to corrupt actors. You are a disgrace to the human race. Get the fuck out of the call.
Let you go.
Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
God. Are
Okay.
you back yet, Wick?
No,
Deb, I'm
YouTube
sorry.
is still
I'll
down. I don't know what's going
answer-
on with it. I guess we're just gonna. Here's what we're gonna do. I can't see anything on YouTube, unfortunately.
Are you booming?
I am booming.
Bro, this
I
is
don't know,
crazy.
but okay. Let's give our strongest. Okay, let's start this way. Give the strongest
Well,
evidence. This is to Devin Pisco. Give the strongest evidence you have of Trump's corruption that is worse than anything Democrats have done, and then I'll make them engage with it. They have to.
So
or they
we
won't.
just asked the question. So we can give the James Comey positive case for why it's corrupt, but we just want to know if you agree or not. And then we're happy to go in the Comey direction or the Letitia James direction. But you just are refusing to answer your own feelings about one of the seminal moments of corruption in the Trump administration. So I'll ask it again. Was the James Comey indictment corrupt or was it not corrupt?
When I answer your question, will you stop being a whiny bitch so I can answer Dev's?
Yeah, you can answer
Is that
that
an
right
acceptable
after
term for you?
you answer it. Yes.
Okay, was it corrupt? No.
Okay.
So Dev, with the Letitia James example, we had something that has almost never happened, may have never happened before in American legislative history or legal history. We had the prosecutor was prosecuting something, so it was bank fraud. Okay, allegedly. So the claim was Trump defrauded the bank when he filled out a loan application. Without going into all the sordid details of it, this amounted to a situation where the bank themselves said, no, it's fine. And they said, well, he inflated the value of property, but on the application itself, it said they're not going to take that into consideration. It was a box that needed to be filled out. The bank testified, no, we didn't need that. We didn't care. And so they said that the dollar amount that he put on a loan application was fraud, even though the person that took the loan accepted it, understood it, knew that it wouldn't need to be accurate, and on top of that was paid back all of their interest and was still doing business. So this is a strange case to bring up some type of a protection claim. There's nothing like it.
Can I answer or are you just asking Dev?
Well, I guess my question here is, how does any of this lead to Trump somehow being less corrupt than Democrats? Where's the connection here to the actual topic?
Yeah, so
I think the easiest way to explain this, I think, and maybe I'm speaking for Speedmove here, is that the way I look at it, you know what? I'll just grant it because we're talking the Comey thing's the 86-47 thing, right? I think like let's just, you know what? I understand it's corrupt. Okay, let's just grant that. The issue that I think that Streamriff and I are having, I think maybe
Oh, okay. So that's just you can just admit that openly. When have the Democrats done anything similar to the 86-47 indictment?
missing each other is, and I said this in my opening, Trump is like a populist outsider. He's definitely not the neocons, right? He's not the traditional like Republicans. He's not a Texas independence guy. He's like a new thing, right? He's barely Republican. He's a New York 90s Democrat, right? And so when we get him in here, yeah, he might be corrupt, but he's a grenade. We threw him in there to go blow this shit up.
So he is
The
corrupt.
current system- sure, maybe, but he's
Yeah.
not as corrupt as
Oh,
the inherent
okay.
system
So you
that the
just
Dems have set up
lost.
at every single level, from local to national, where we're seeing these things now with the voting fraud. We're seeing this with the illegal immigration desires. We're seeing this with the feedback loop from the NGOs.
Let me just take a specific point. You guys, so the Letitia James are brought up.
Well, just wait. So Gibbs, I've heard this before. Yes, okay, I've heard this before, and I asked you for evidence, and we got to sanctuary cities, and I said, okay, evidence of sanctuary cities allowing illegals to vote in order to corruptly entrench Democrats into power. You gave me the examples of Oakland and San Francisco.
Yeah, those are good
right?
examples. Yeah, those are good ones.
Okay. So I decided. I assume that. I hope we're all going to trust Ballotpedia. I decided to look it up. I wanted to figure out
purpose
what's
of this
actually going
discussion,
on.
we certainly.
I hope the Republicans won, but for the illegal vote,
Yeah.
that would be based.
Sure. So I wanted to see the history of non-citizen voting in the United States, and I found 3 cities, in fact. And Oakland, San Francisco, and DC. Those are the 3 cities that allow it. And I was like, okay, so what's actually happening in these 3 cities? And it turns out for Oakland, it's only for the school board. It's not actually for like any real elections of substance.
But that's what I'm talking about, though. Hold on.
Well,
This is
sure, I
the-
understand, but it's
Go ahead.
very weak evidence for your case, though. Like,
No,
the fact that illegals can vote for people on a school board
I
is
think
not
it's actually
evidence
the
that
most
Democrats have
important
this entire entrenched
No,
system
I-
that
yeah,
goes
I
all the
just-
way up to the top. And
This is why I
weak evidence
disagree.
for that claim.
Well, actually, I disagree with you vehemently on this. I think this is maybe where we're having another problem. Is y'all keep looking at this at the national, right? I actually think it's much more dangerous at the local, where elections are decided on like hands with 20 votes, 8 votes, 100 votes. They have runoffs over these small. That I
Oh,
think
so
is-
the fucking school board? That's the scary election that's gonna upend the people's voice. Like, how stupid do you have to be to think this?
is more important. And when we have things like the school board, these are what's controlling the education. of
That's
our
more
kids.
important than
Like, this is-
foreign policy, the wars, the Qatar
Yes.
deals.
I would- I would- I would-
It's
I
more
would-
important.
yes,
So what you're trying to say
yes.
with a straight fucking face is that this
Yeah,
school
I
board
agree.
election, this school board election is more important when it
Yes.
comes to corruption.
Yes.
More important when it comes to
Agree,
corruption than
yeah.
our entire foreign policy, our Department of Justice being implicated in it.
I'm
That
not-
this school board election. Okay, you are all fucking unreasonable hacks. This is an
I also
insane
wanna point out-
standard.
And you have
I
3
also-
games
I
on
also
it.
wanna point out-
Yeah. I mean,
hold
what's
on,
the
there's
point?
another point out here.
Dev, go.
Is that for both Oakland and San Francisco, they allow non-citizen residents, which means people who are in America illegally who aren't citizens. By the way, I don't agree with that. I
Non-citizen
think it's a bad
residents?
policy.
Wait. Did you say non-citizen residents? That's not illegal.
Non-citizen residents.
That's not
A
illegal.
non-citizen
illegal.
resident is not an illegal immigrant. So to be clear, is it the case or is it not the case that that illegal immigrants are allowed to vote in this election?
Well, that's the thing.
And
Do you
okay,
know
so-
or do you not know Gibbs and Streamrest? Do you know or do you not know whether illegal immigrants are allowed?
Illegal immigrants are voting.
No, no. The question is, is it allowed under state and local law for illegal immigrants to vote in these elections? Yes or no? Or do you know?
Yeah,
It's
federal
likely
elections
and-
or
No,
local
no. Is it
elections?
allowed under the law?
Under local elections, this is why it's important because California identifies non-legal, legal residents.
Well,
differently
I'll
than
read it for you,
federal
okay?
elections.
Okay, read the
I'll
law,
read
read the law,
it
let's
for
read the
you,
law.
okay? So,
Yeah, I got all right here as well.
the amendment was, shall the measure to amend the city charter to allow the city council by adopting an ordinance to authorize voting by non-citizen residents who are the parents, legal guardians, or legally recognized caregivers of a child for the office of Oakland School Board Director, if they are otherwise eligible to vote under state and local law, be adopted. And then
Right,
that amendment was approved with 67%.
So that's allowing non-citizens to vote, right?
Hold on,
Non-citizens, but not illegals because they are in the country legally.
Hold on. This is the problem. Dev, you're absolutely correct when you say non-citizen residents does not necessarily mean illegals, right? And I would grant you that most of the time in most of the country that would be true. However, California also does, and you can look this up, they issue undocumented immigrants are allowed to obtain state's driver's license and state's identification. And then they classify those people no longer as illegal, but as non-citizen residents, even though the federal government is still going to classify them as legal. So when you have a distinction at the state and federal level, and this is where I thought federalism occurred in the Civil War, we established the federal government gets this other definition supersedes the other guy. And so when we're sitting here looking at this, yeah, absolutely, they do have illegal immigrants voting in their local elections.
Okay, here's what we're gonna do in the interest of time. I'm gonna read the rest of my I'm gonna give you guys closing thoughts, closing statements. I apologize for the technical issues today. I apologize to my viewers. I don't know what happened, but we lost internet for a while. I'm gonna give each of these lovely individuals closing thoughts. Then I'm going to go through these super chats, and then if you'd like to stay for call-ins, we have some call-ins that would like to talk to you, and you'd be welcome to do so. Okay, with that, I'm gonna give the last word to StreamRef. So Pisco, then Dev, then Gibbs, then StreamRef. Pisco,
Yeah.
close this out.
It is pathetic, right? So we started this conversation by raising a bunch of substantive corruption stuff, and not any of them were seriously contested by our opposition. They had nothing to say about the corrupt pardons, nothing to say about the attack on law firms, nothing to say about the cover-up of the Epstein files, nothing to say about the political prosecutions. They said that the slush fund wasn't corrupt, even though it was a collusive lawsuits. And the examples they brought up of Democratic corruption include like straight-up policy disagreements or situations in which, in their mind, the Democratic representatives are not listening to, honestly, to the will of their voters, as though those were corrupt. And instances where they were just flatly contradicted by the facts, including when we were asking for examples on their sanctuary city corruption theory, about when that led to the kind of broader systemic corruption they were pointing to, and they were just debunked time and time again. Specifically debunked on the Des Moines situation of the superintendent. Specifically debunked on the rationale regarding why the lawsuit was filed in the collusive slush fund case. And in every one of these, you had nothing but deflection to matters of political disagreement regarding immigration policy. I think at one point you brought up trans policies. What the fuck does that have to do with corruption? Just absolutely nothing. Nothing to say. In James Comey, they think the James Comey indictment is above board, but they have a problem with the Letitia James civil case because they've never read the legal theory on the Letitia James case and why, notwithstanding the fact that you have a bank who doesn't really care that they were defrauded, that you can still have someone be defrauded and it not being an element contained within common law fraud as understood in New York court. But they don't know that shit. They don't know that shit because they haven't done the research. They haven't done the cases. And the people who have done the research, the conservatives that are a little bit intelligent, or at least are aware of the track record here, they all acknowledge that Trump is historically corrupt. That's why they got to bring out these bozos and no one else, these low IQ nimrods, to come and make these kind of like basically filibuster nonsense arguments, half drunk, half slurring, and it has nothing to do with the actual obvious facts before you, which are the historic levels of corruption, abuse by this administration, and nothing even coming close from the Democrats. Thank you very much. I'm going to stay around for Collins and appreciate Wick.
Yeah, thank you. This has been a crazy debate, but here we are. Dev, go ahead.
So I do think that it's telling that we spent most of the time talking about Democrat corruption and almost no time talking about Trump corruption.
Yep.
When there is significantly more Trump corruption, in my opinion. One thing that we didn't get to, I'll just very briefly touch on it now, are all the pardons that Trump has handed out. So we have Jason.
Yeah, I know, and this was, and I knew this was gonna happen mainly because I pre-watched it. But this is always this is always what they do. They never want to talk about Trump. They just want to do this grievance politics about what the Democrats do. And when they're tested on their ideas, they fold. They fold like a deck of cards, ladies and gentlemen. It is so obvious to anybody watching this that they are unable to, even when you engage with their definition, they still can't defend Trump. And so what was most of this debate? Just constant grievance politics, constant Monday night quarterbacking from the rightoids on the panel. And no actual substance, no actual evidence of true fraud, of true corruption. And I think that speaks volumes.
Galinet for $200 million of corruption. Joseph Schwartz, $38 million. I think these are finance guys. Lawrence Duran, $205 million of Medicare fraud. Carlos Watson, $60 million of investor fraud. Trevor Milton, $20 million of investor fraud. Todd Chrisley, $30 million bank fraud. Julie Christie, $30 million bank fraud. Devin Archer, $60 million tribal bond scheme. George Santos, $1 million multiple fraud schemes. The list goes on. These are all people that are Trump's friends that have committed fraud. They have been found guilty of this stuff, and Trump has pardoned them. That is ridiculous. It is insane how much corruption is just pouring out of the Trump administration right now.
Thank you for being here, Dev.
Thank you.
Gibbs.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun. Yeah, I think it's pretty clear. There's a reason, like Dev said, that we talk about Democratic fraud is because every time I open the door, I get slapped in the face with more Democratic fraud. It's like breathing air to these people. They're so entrenched with their degeneracy and their corruption that they can't even see what's in front of them. It's pretty obvious that's what happened. We got really in depth with it, and I mean, I really look forward to another debate by Pisco where he claims he won and then deletes the VOD because he took a huge whooping from Papa Gibbs again. Because this is about the third or fourth time that's happened. If you go check it out, every time I debate him, he deletes it because he took a whooping behind a woodshed. And I'm just saying that's really the fact. Now, if you like anything I have to say, hate everything I have to say, find me over at Admiral Gibbs. And thanks for having me.
Real quick,
Thank you.
wait, real quick. I unlist all of my VODs and put them into a playlist, as is oftentimes standard for
So you're
political
saying he's
streamers.
right.
And but to be clear, you have been featured on numerous of my most popular debate videos, and so it's just not the case that you've ever impressed anyone with your bullshit.
I got no idea whether
Just real quick, Pisco.
Let's give it to.
Don't delete this one just in case because we missed like half an hour of the debate. When
Yeah,
we
I'm sorry
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah,
It wasn't-
I don't delete my VODs. The VODs are all available.
You did while you
My VODs are all available. I don't delete my VODs.
Fair enough.
Supreme.
Okay,
I
great.
want to give it. Last word to Mr. Streamrift. Go ahead.
Thank
Oh,
you.
good.
Thanks
Yeah, he's always last. You know what I mean? Shit.
to everybody being here, and especially Dev. I'll close on this. You're right. We didn't spend a lot of time talking about Trump, partially because the framing of is the Trump admin is corrupt, is a corrupt policy over 4 decades is just heavily weighted in one direction. By Dev's numbers, 3 to 4 billion. I would put, even if we triple that, let's call it 10 billion. The amount of money that the DNC has been able to funnel through manipulating the congressional representation to pass laws that set the budget and move money where they want is estimated on my research around 10 to 11 trillion dollars. So when that much money is getting funneled out the door, and we have people in Congress that are 70-80% of them are voting, they're voting consistently against their voters. Their voters make it clear there's certain policies they want. They want illegals guilty of crime deported. They want men out of women's sports. They want to see see some very specific things, and they're not getting them.
Listen, just a
voter ID
lot
is
of
the perfect example. Probably
grievances.
the best one to end
Nothing
on.
actual
The majority of
substantial.
Democrats actually want voter ID, as do Republicans. The only reason it's a partisan issue is because the organizations like the DNC, which is far more corrupt than Trump, manipulate the way that American policy gets
And look, they'll
executed.
just say that. Even though they've been checked on all of their examples, they're just going to say it. It's so like bad faith. It's so disingenuous. They know they're cooked. They know they're fucking a bunch of liars. But they're just too whether stupid or proud to admit it.
against the will of the people, which is the definition of corruption. And with that, I will just end again by saying thank you so much, Wick, for graciously hosting this, and Pisco, fuck you.
Okay, wonderful. I'm glad we all ended on a happy note, mostly. Let me read some of these super chats, and we'll bring in some. And I'm gonna rapid fire these.
Yeah, guys, it's corruption because the Dems don't want to do what the Republicans want to do. Anyways, I am gonna be getting out of here. I thought this was a decent little stream. I want to do more of these debate reviews. Honestly, what I want to do is next time we do one of these debate reviews, I'll have like a list of points and stuff like that. Trump's just a standing order to attack Iran if it assassinates him. What? New York Times reporters are subpoenaed after Air Force One stories raising freedom of press concerns. Great. All right. Well, look, literally corruption right in front of our faces. But no, this isn't corruption in their opinion. That's just somebody trying to use his public office for personal gain. That's not corruption. Right, guys? Oh, wait, that's the textbook definition of corruption. Did I watch the Take Back America debate with Destiny and Santos? I haven't yet, but I was planning on watching that after I get off of the stream today. Have a good day. Yeah, so I'll be getting out of here, gamers. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I will be live again, as always, with my evening debates. Yeah, corruption is only bad when I'm not involved. Then it's fine. Then it's okay. Yeah, it's just so ridiculous, dude. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this stream. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, I'll be back at 5 p.m. CST as I always am. You know, there's 2 constants in the universe. There's time, or 3 constants: time, space, and TGDE streams. Those are the constants of the universe, ladies and gentlemen. And I do not recommend to fight against the constants. Anyways, with that being said, have a great day, gamers. I'll see you guys later tonight. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless.